This woman is named Elon. She is the emperor's guard. After waking up, she was shocked to find the emperor lying next to her. She was so scared she covered her mouth, trying hard not to make a sound. She recalled the celebration last night, where she got completely drunk. She had actually pulled the emperor, who was in disguise, to dance with her. As they danced, sparks flew, and they ended up hooking up. No wonder she didn't recognize him as the emperor. He was wearing a treasure around his neck that could conceal his appearance. Only after seeing the treasure did she realize this was the emperor. The new emperor, Tyrant. This man was cold-blooded and ruthless. Not satisfied, even after killing all his blood relatives, he launched decades of military campaigns after ascending the throne. The emperor detested anyone who got entangled with him. Whether it was a woman he had slept with or a woman who truly loved him, he would kill them without mercy. At this thought, Elon couldn't help but swallow hard. If the emperor found out, she would suffer the same fate. So she quickly put on her clothes. She stumbled away. When she saw the emperor again, Elon was thankful that she had worn makeup and a wig last night. She thought he probably wouldn't recognize her. In any case, for the sake of her own life, she would never admit to what happened last night, even if it killed her. At this moment, the emperor asked the two guards in front of him meaningfully, "Was the celebration last night fun?" Elon, with a calm expression, stated that she did not attend the celebration last night. The emperor slowly took a sip of coffee and asked again, "Then what are your thoughts on the night of the celebration?" After speaking, he continued to add, "To be precise, what do you think about a man and a woman hitting it off and then hooking up?" Elon suddenly felt something was wrong and felt immense pressure. He must be talking about what happened last night. How should she answer so as not to arouse his suspicion? After thinking for a moment, Elon said, "This humble one doesn't really understand. I believe that true love comes from the bottom of one's heart. So before marriage, just holding hands should be enough." The emperor listened and smiled without saying a word. He waved his hand and let them leave. Elon immediately breathed a sigh of relief, thinking she had finally passed that hurdle. Watching the two of them leave, a sinister smile appeared on the emperor's face. For the next month, Elon lived on pins and needles, terrified that the cold-blooded emperor would remember something. But another matter made her break down. Her period hadn't come for a long time. She suddenly had a bad feeling. She couldn't help but console herself that it might just be a health issue. Sometimes, too much stress can also delay a period. Yes, it must be too much stress, because every time she met His Majesty, she would remember that night, and then her heart would pound wildly, afraid of being discovered and killed by His Majesty. But to be safe, she decided to find a small clinic for a checkup. After putting on a disguise, she went to a small, remote clinic. The doctor first gave her a thorough examination. After confirming the last time she had hooked up with someone, the doctor told Elon she was pregnant. It was a bolt from the blue. Hearing this worst-case scenario, Elon was stunned. She found it hard to process this news. If anyone found out, she would be in great danger. She began to consider whether to get rid of the doctor. The doctor, as if sensing something, immediately took out a magical contract. Once signed, violating the contract would result in a magical backlash. Only then did Elon feel relieved. Back home, she pondered what to do. She couldn't possibly get rid of the child. She was an orphan abandoned by her parents as a child. She had long ago vowed that in the future, she would never become a mother who abandons her own child. She comforted herself that it might be a misdiagnosis. A few months later, Elon could no longer say it was a misdiagnosis. Her pregnancy symptoms became more and more obvious. She had reached the morning sickness stage. For breakfast, she only had some vegetable soup and felt terribly sick. These days, she couldn't eat anything. While on duty, the guard captain even asked her if she was feeling unwell. Recently, her face was incredibly pale. Elon casually made up an excuse to brush it off. During the morning meeting, the vice captain informed the guards that His Majesty was very concerned about everyone's health recently. Starting today, their meals would be improved. In addition, a royal physician was assigned. If anyone felt unwell, they could see the royal physician at any time. People were curious why His Majesty was suddenly so concerned about everyone. They felt a little apprehensive. Elon also found it strange. Perhaps His Majesty was doing this to win the loyalty of the guards. She told herself not to overthink it. Today was her and the captain's day to be on duty by His Majesty's side. She had to pull herself together. When she arrived, it was just the emperor's breakfast time. The meat on the plate looked delicious and smelled fragrant. But this smell made Elon feel an urge to vomit. She forced herself to hold it in. She couldn't possibly throw up while His Majesty was eating. This woman, as the Emperor's guard, had unexpectedly become pregnant with the Emperor's child. Elon knew how cold-blooded the Emperor was and would never dare to let him know about this. Nor would she dare to admit that she was the person he met that day. But recently, her morning sickness was severe. The Emperor was eating steak at this moment. The smell of the meat was torture for her. Elon was currently on duty by the Emperor's side. She had to suppress the urge to vomit no matter what. If she threw up, she would be finished. Once His Majesty questioned the reason, the consequences would be unimaginable. After a while, a maid served the Emperor a bowl of orange pudding. This time, Elon didn't feel like vomiting. The smell was so clear. Not only did she not want to vomit, she even wanted to snatch it and eat it. Having thrown up all her breakfast, she only now felt dizzy with hunger. Suddenly, she lost her footing and collapsed at the Emperor's side. Seeing His Majesty's gloomy expression, Elon felt she was done for. The moment she got close to His Majesty, the shadow guards also appeared. They could take Elon's life at any moment. The guard captain immediately pleaded for Elon, just as Elon gathered the courage to explain herself. An embarrassing sound suddenly came from her stomach. Everyone present heard the sound and looked at her, a bit stunned. Elon felt utterly humiliated, and it wasn't over, as she, with a shocked face, pretended nothing had happened and tried to continue explaining to the Emperor. Her stomach let out a loud series of gurgles. What a majorly embarrassing scene. The Emperor first ordered the shadow guards to stand down. Then he asked the guard captain how he was doing his job, letting his subordinate go hungry. Elon immediately wanted to explain that it was her own fault. The Emperor interrupted her and told the guard captain to leave first. The guard captain was afraid that if he left, Elon's life would be over. He refused to go out. The Emperor's face instantly turned grim. Don't make me repeat myself. Only then did the guard captain have to grit his teeth and leave. After the guard captain left, the Emperor's expression softened as he asked Elon what was going on. Elon had a flash of inspiration and made an excuse, saying she was on a diet recently. The Emperor muttered in a voice Elon couldn't hear, "What fat is there to lose?" Then he ordered the maids to bring a full table of food. These dishes looked and smelled delicious, but for Elon with her morning sickness, eating them was torture. The Emperor, with a pleased look, told her to start eating. Just smelling some of the food made Elon want to vomit, but not eating would definitely arouse suspicion. Elon forced herself to take a bite. She felt like her whole life was about to end. The Emperor, seeing her uncomfortable look, had the guard captain come in. He asked him what was wrong with Elon recently. The guard captain first took all the blame on himself. This moved Elon deeply. The next second, he spilled everything about her pale face and apparent poor health recently. What a great captain for throwing his teammate under the bus. She had held back her vomit for so long, just afraid that His Majesty would find out and call the royal physician. She never expected to be unintentionally sold out by her captain. The Emperor, as expected, had someone notify the royal physician to come over. Lying on the bed, Elon was in despair. She was definitely done for this time. Her pregnancy was bound to be exposed. Her mind raced, thinking of various plans for after she was exposed. Suddenly, she heard a very familiar voice. Wasn't this the doctor from the alley she went to yesterday? How did he become the royal physician? Elon wondered if they were twin brothers, but their voices were the same. It should be the same person. After the diagnosis was complete, Elon nervously watched the royal physician report the results to the Emperor. She was trying her best to hide the fact that she was pregnant with the Emperor's child. At this moment, she was facing a major crisis. The royal physician finished examining her and reported to the Emperor. Elon felt she was about to be exposed. Unexpectedly, the royal physician only said she had a mild case of food poisoning. Realizing what was happening, Elon immediately played along with the royal physician's performance. She wondered in her heart why the royal physician was helping her cover up the truth. And why did he pretend to be a doctor in an alley? After the royal physician left, the Emperor had the servants continue to serve Elon food. Elon was helpless. She wanted to vomit no matter what she ate. But unexpectedly, the dishes brought this time were light in flavor. She instantly regained her appetite. After a whole morning of turmoil, finally getting a satisfying meal, she was moved to tears. Watching Elon like this, the emperor's lips curved up slightly. After finishing her meal, Elon realized that she had eaten too fiercely, and the emperor had seen it all. She was so embarrassed that her face turned red on the spot. The emperor beside her burst out laughing. Before the emperor left, he gently told Elon to rest well before coming back on duty. Elon thought to herself, so the emperor can laugh too. No, this seemed to be the second time she had seen the emperor smile. The first time was when they met by chance. That day they hooked up, he had smiled and called someone's name, but she couldn't remember that name at all. She lay back on the bed in frustration. Anyway, it definitely wasn't her name, that's for sure. As she was sleeping, Elon felt someone poking her face. She impatiently pushed the person's hand away. Turning around, she saw it was the emperor. "Your Majesty, I'm sorry for waking you, my little rabbit." Elon shot up in alarm, then lay back down to continue sleeping. It seemed she was dreaming. How could His Majesty say something like that? But the emperor kept poking her face. She told His Majesty to stop messing around. Unexpectedly, the emperor slowly moved closer to her. Just as a kiss was about to land, Elon immediately pushed the emperor away. Her face burning red, she questioned, "What is the emperor in my dream trying to do? Why do you appear in my dreams to torture me?" The emperor, with a smile, said gently, "Of course, it's because I miss you." Elon was startled awake. His Majesty's persona had completely collapsed in a dream. It was truly a nightmare. The next day, Elon still couldn't get the dream off her mind. The emperor had always been cold-blooded and tyrannical, gentle and smiling. It was impossible to associate that with him. Suddenly, she heard the surrounding maids talking. They heard that His Majesty had been looking for the woman he hooked up with on the night of the celebration. His Majesty is looking for her? How is that possible? Even the maids knew about this, which meant the rumor was spreading like wildfire. The emperor's actions were always secretive. He would never let news leak out. This news must have been intentionally released by the emperor. On her way to duty, Elon ran into the guard captain who was waiting for her. The guard captain asked with concern how she was feeling. Learning that Elon was much better, he was relieved and reminded Elon to take better care of her health in the future. The two entered the room together to greet the emperor. But the emperor looked at them with a displeased expression. "Why did you two come in at the same time?" The guard captain explained that they had met by chance. Although the emperor was displeased, he didn't press the matter further. He told them to do their duty well. After a while, a maid suddenly came to announce that the baron's daughter requested an audience. The emperor continued to handle his affairs without even lifting his head. Let her wait. Elon was curious. The emperor was completely unfazed upon hearing about the baron's daughter. After the emperor finished his work as a guard, Elon followed him to meet the baron's daughter. The young lady, seeing His Majesty the emperor, excitedly wanted to introduce herself, but was interrupted by the emperor, who told her to get to the point. The baron's daughter spoke respectfully. "I heard that your Majesty has been looking for the woman you met by chance on the night of the celebration." The emperor generously admitted it. The young lady continued to ask, "I heard you didn't see the woman's face clearly." Hearing the emperor's affirmative tone, Elon was secretly happy. She definitely wouldn't be discovered by the emperor. The next second, she froze. The duke's daughter slowly spoke. "I'm the woman from that night." This female guard had unexpectedly become pregnant with the emperor's child. She was trying her best to hide it, but now someone was falsely claiming to be her. She said she was the woman who hooked up with the emperor that day. The baron's daughter asked expectantly if the emperor still remembered her. But the emperor didn't even look at her and turned to leave. He also notified the shadow guards to take care of her. The baron's daughter stood there, stunned. She still wanted to explain something. Without turning his head, the emperor left a sentence behind. "I hate people who deceive me." Elon followed the emperor out, trembling. She couldn't help but ask, "Your Majesty, if one day a woman appeared with your child, what would you do?" The emperor's face instantly turned grim. If there was such a person, they must be lying. "I would make them pay the price for it." Elon's heart sank to the bottom. She secretly made a resolution that her pregnancy must never be discovered. It wasn't until her duty ended that Elon relaxed from her tense state. The guard captain asked with concern if she was feeling unwell again. Elon quickly said she was just a little tired. At that moment, the guard captain's sister, Elisa, suddenly ran into the two of them. She greeted them proactively, but the guard captain was not at all enthusiastic towards Elisa, asking her what business she had at the palace. Elisa's face was filled with a happy and shy smile. "That I came to see His Majesty the Emperor." The guard captain had heard about the baron's daughter today and asked Elisa if she was the one who instigated the Baron's daughter to go. Elisa, however, left with an "I don't know what you're talking about" expression. Elon felt there was something going on here and curiously asked the guard captain what was happening. The guard captain didn't hide anything and told Elon directly that his sister must have instigated the Baron's daughter to come in order to confirm the truth of the rumors and to see His Majesty's reaction. After speaking, he also advised Elon not to get too close to his sister. Elon could only politely agree. At night, Elon found herself dreaming of His Majesty, the Emperor again. She curiously asked His Majesty why he always appeared in her dreams. The Emperor, however, gave an irrelevant answer, looking at Elon expectantly. "Call me Kyle, that pet name." Elon was silent for a moment. She thought, since it's a dream, she could be bolder. But she still looked away, her face red, before softly saying Kyle. Elon felt that perhaps what one thinks about by day, one dreams about by night. She actually had such fantasies about His Majesty, the Emperor. She felt a bit ridiculous. But the Emperor pulled her into an embrace and solemnly placed a kiss on her forehead. How is it ridiculous? This dream was so magical. Even though it was a dream, she could feel the warmth. Elon asked the Emperor in her dream what he had talked about with Miss Elisa today. The Emperor, however, looked mysterious. "I'd love to tell you, but now is not the time. Just wait." Elon grumbled that the dream would end when she woke up. What was there to wait for? But she was easily coaxed by the Emperor in her dream. For the next few days on duty, Elon felt a little uneasy. First was the unusual behavior of the royal physician. But Miss Elisa had also been entering the palace frequently recently. Most importantly, she dreamed of His Majesty the Emperor every day and was starting to have trouble distinguishing between the Emperor in her dreams and in reality. The warm afternoon sun shone into the room. She couldn't help but feel sleepy. She warned herself in her heart that she couldn't sleep, but her eyelids were too heavy. When she opened her eyes, she was in the dream again. The Emperor was gently holding her. The Emperor in the dream freely spoke sweet words to her, making Elon blush. Wait, she suddenly realized. She was still on duty by the Emperor's side. How did she fall asleep? She desperately urged herself. It took a long time to wake up. She looked around, but didn't see the Emperor. Was she still in a dream? She suddenly felt something behind her. Turning around, she was now sitting on the real Emperor's lap, and the Emperor was looking at her with a cold expression. The female guard wanted to hide that she was pregnant with the Emperor's child. Unexpectedly, she fell asleep while on duty. When she woke up, she found herself in the Emperor's arms, and the Emperor was looking at her with a cold expression. Elon immediately jumped up. She knelt on the ground and begged His Majesty the Emperor for forgiveness. She was confused. Her duty post was far from the Emperor. How could she have fallen asleep on His Majesty's lap? She suspected she was still dreaming. She tried calling out Kyle to the Emperor. The Emperor looked at her expressionlessly. Seeing his reaction, Elon still couldn't tell if this was a dream or reality. Just as the Emperor was about to say something, a sound suddenly came from behind. Elisa was looking at them in disbelief. After a moment, she pushed the door open and left, leaving only Elon, who was frozen in place, and the Emperor, who remained expressionless. When did Elisa arrive? Could she have seen that scene just now? The Emperor whispered from the side, "This is troublesome now." Looking at His Majesty's familiar back, Elon secretly warned herself not to confuse him with the Kyle from her dreams anymore. Otherwise, the peaceful life she had just managed to find would be shattered. The Emperor told Elon to return to her post and that she no longer needed to be on duty by his side. Elon immediately agreed, but she still felt a little disappointed. She thought His Majesty would keep her by his side until she recovered. His Majesty must find her troublesome. Elon's heart felt a little empty. She suddenly thought of the child in her belly. No, she couldn't let her guard down. The Emperor was a cold-blooded person. She shouldn't have other thoughts. It was good that she would be away from the Emperor now. She wouldn't have to worry about being discovered by him. And Miss Elisa wouldn't misunderstand her anymore. The departing Elisa angrily smashed the vase on the table. Her face was grim, as if she had decided something. The next day, during the lunch break, Elon was sitting outside eating lunch. The food in the cafeteria recently suited her appetite, and she no longer had strong morning sickness. Today, to celebrate finally getting away from the Emperor, she specially brought a tangerine. Perhaps because she was pregnant, she had been craving tangerines lately. Elon peeled the tangerine with a happy expression. Unexpectedly, just as she was about to put it in her mouth, the guard captain suddenly appeared behind her and greeted her. Elon was so startled that she couldn't hold the tangerine steady, and it all fell to the ground. Seeing the tangerine rolling away from her, Elon's heart was suddenly filled with grievance. The guard captain curiously came forward and asked what was wrong with the silent Elon. Unexpectedly, Elon's face was covered in tears. The guard captain was at a loss in this situation. People noticed the situation and gathered around. They comforted her with all sorts of words. The guard captain worriedly asked if she was sick, but Elon cried even harder. She didn't understand why she was crying just because a tangerine got dirty. The royal physician had said that the body changes during pregnancy, so it's often difficult to control one's emotions. Elon's tears fell even more fiercely. That's right, this must all be because of the pregnancy. Seeing the worried captain, Elon tried hard to stop her emotions. She couldn't let the captain worry about her like this. The captain gently wiped away her tears. He gently coaxed her. If you keep crying, your eyes will hurt. Calm down and speak slowly. The team members were shocked. The captain had such a gentle side. With tears in her eyes, Elon told the captain, "Captain, you scared me." My tangerine fell on the ground. The captain looked at Elon, dumbfounded. The people were also dumbfounded. Just for this? Because of this? Having regained her senses, Elon realized how embarrassing her behavior was. But the captain apologized to Elon seriously. This tangerine must be very important to you. There must be a story behind it, right? The captain said he would take responsibility for this tangerine. Elon was full of question marks. How do you take responsibility for a tangerine? The vice captain stood up and asked the team members to leave with him first to give Elon some space to calm down. Before leaving, he once again reminded Elon that she could tell him if she had any difficulties in the future. I'm not just saying these words. If you feel it's hard, you can rely on me. The female guard was unexpectedly pregnant with the emperor's child. She hadn't told anyone about this, but she was brutally attacked. Elon was walking down the stairs properly when suddenly a pair of hands reached out from behind. With a hard push, the unprepared Elon fell. In that instant, she remembered the doctor's warning. He had told her that strenuous exercise or impact could be dangerous for the baby. Falling from a high place, Elon desperately protected her stomach. The baby must be okay. She staggered to her feet, wanting to see who pushed her. Unfortunately, that person had already run away. Elon wanted to stand up and find a royal physician, but she was too weak and trembling to get up. Her stomach hurt so much she couldn't breathe. She couldn't even call for help loudly. Elon was in despair. God, please save her and the baby. Anyone will do. Perhaps God really heard her prayer. A familiar figure ran over. Was it Kyle? As he got closer, she saw it was the captain. The captain, anxious and worried, asked Elon where she was hurt. Elon, with a furrowed brow and cold sweat, told the captain, "My stomach hurts. I need to go to the royal physician." It was too far from there. The guard's dedicated infirmary was closer. The captain wanted to take her directly to the infirmary, but Elon insisted on going to the royal physician. Only the royal physician knew about her pregnancy. She couldn't expose it elsewhere. Seeing Elon's insistence, the captain could only pick her up and rush over at lightning speed. Enduring the pain, Elon's mind was in a daze as she thought. Just now, why did she see His Majesty the Emperor's face? Was she hoping he would come to help her? Elon knew very well that the Emperor was not the gentle Kyle from her dreams, but his face always appeared in her mind. She had always wanted to ask His Majesty why she was sitting on his lap that day, but she was too afraid to hear the answer to ask. After a frantic rush, they finally arrived at the royal physician's place. But the royal physician wasn't there. He might be busy elsewhere. The captain went directly to grab the royal physician and urged him to quickly treat Elon. The doctor checked her and asked the captain to wait outside. The captain was very worried about Elon's condition and resolutely refused to leave. The royal physician could only send him to get some towels and hot water. After getting the captain out, the royal physician got straight to the point. What exactly happened? Elon told him truthfully that she had fallen down the stairs. A palace guard falling down the stairs. The royal physician guessed immediately that there was something fishy. He carefully examined Elon. After a while, he told Elon with a pleasant expression that the baby in her belly was fine. She was in so much pain just because she was startled. Fortunately, you are in good health. It's just some superficial injuries. Applying some medicine will heal it quickly. After speaking, the doctor muttered in a low voice, "What would I do if something really happened? I want to live a few more years." Suddenly, the sound of a door opening came from the entrance. The captain stood at the door in disbelief. "What were you just saying?" The female guard, Elon, was shocked. She never expected that the secret of her being pregnant with the Emperor's child would be overheard by the captain. The captain asked Elon why she was hiding her pregnancy. Elon turned away, not daring to face the captain's concerned gaze. She said she couldn't say. The captain pressed her, asking who the child's father was. Elon looked resistant to the topic. "I have no reason to tell you that, do I?" Seeing Elon's expression, the captain didn't press further. He asked his last question, "Are you going to have it?" Elon nodded without hesitation. "Yes, I will raise the child myself." Elon was worried about what to do next. Should she just leave the palace like this? The key was, would the captain keep her secret? Unexpectedly, the captain's face turned slightly red as he held her hand. He told Elon with a firm and expectant look, "In that case, can I be this child's father?" Elon was stunned. She really didn't expect this twist. The physician also stared at them, dumbfounded. Elon spoke uncertainly. "You mean you want to be a father in the future?" The captain once again expressed his feelings. "I only want to be the father of your child." Looking at the captain's expectant expression, Elon was stunned. "Captain, you don't like me, do you?" The captain smiled openly and nodded. "The first time I saw you, I thought you were a very outstanding person." But Elon asked with a puzzled look, "Outstanding in what way?" At this moment, the captain let himself go, looking at her brightly, his eyes seeming to sparkle. "Outstanding in every way." Elon felt a bit overwhelmed. She still politely rejected the captain. "Right now, I don't have the energy to accept your feelings." But the captain told Elon not to be in such a hurry to reply. "I just hope you can let me stay by your side." After speaking, he left without waiting for Elon's answer, saying he was going to get her hot water. Elon and the royal physician were left stunned. Elon asked the physician uncertainly if she was just dreaming. The physician shattered her fantasy. No, this is reality. Elon couldn't help but wonder if the captain's words just now were sincere. The captain was indeed very good to her. At noon, she cried over a tangerine, and after the meal, the captain sent several large baskets of tangerines for her. She was very fortunate to have such a good captain, but she had never thought that the captain had different feelings for her. The departing captain was in the hallway, angrily punching the wall. Obviously, Elon had met an irresponsible man. If he found out who it was, he would never forgive him. In the corner, the physician watched the departing captain with a strange smile. He knew another man who was quite similar to the captain. Should he call him master? After all, that person held his life in his hands. The physician noticed a figure standing inside the door, eavesdropping. He proactively greeted the other person. "Can he eavesdrop? Is it to report back to the master?" A hint of excitement appeared on the physician's face. Although he didn't know if he would be punished for failing to protect the target. Compared to that, being interesting was the most important thing. The guard who had fallen into the trap, what will she do next? The female guard was pregnant with the Emperor's child, and her morning sickness symptoms had surprisingly transferred to the Emperor. For the past 2 days on leave, everything Elon ate tasted delicious. She wondered why her morning sickness had ended so quickly. Now, the delicious bread sold on the street. She felt she could eat 10 in one go. The feeling of eating delicious food normally was simply too blissful. Elon was so happy she was moved to tears. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Emperor was constantly dry heaving. The sounds of his retching even brought out the shadow guards. He asked with concern if the Emperor had been poisoned and was about to investigate. The Emperor stopped him that it's not poison. Another shadow guard thought he had discovered the truth. This could be a curse. "I must investigate immediately." The Emperor calmly told them to call the royal physician. After a while, the royal physician was roughly thrown in front of the Emperor by the shadow guards. The royal physician adjusted his crooked glasses and couldn't help but complain that it's this treatment every time. He curiously asked, "What's wrong, Your Majesty?" The Emperor looked puzzled. "That I feel like vomiting when I smell food. Just thinking about it makes me nauseous. Do you know what's wrong with me?" The royal physician showed an "I understand everything" expression. He explained in a voice only the Emperor could hear that symptom is... After a while of explanation, the emperor finally understood. So it was that symptom. Understood. On the last night of her leave, having eaten her fill for the past few days, Elon happily lay down to sleep. Perhaps you only know how to cherish something after you've lost it. Only now did she understand what a blissful thing it was to eat. Before falling asleep, she secretly prayed that things could continue to be this peaceful. Elon slowly opened her eyes. She was in the dream again. The emperor in the dream happily greeted her. Long time no see. He explained that he had been too busy recently to come over. Elon curiously asked the emperor what he was busy with, but the emperor didn't want to talk about it and just casually said various things. Elon suddenly sat up. She touched the emperor's face with concern and asked him why he had lost weight. The emperor was stunned for a moment and unnaturally moved Elon's hand away. It's just your imagination. Elon gestured and insisted she wasn't mistaken. The emperor's arms were clearly much thinner. Are you sick? The emperor changed the subject, asking if Elon had gained some weight. Elon admitted with a happy face. She had been eating well these past few days. She joyfully shared the delicious food she had eaten recently with the emperor. Seeing the happy Elon, the emperor's bad mood from not being able to eat recently also improved a bit. He rested his head on Elon's lap peacefully. Elon also intimately stroked the hair of the emperor in her dream. The emperor seemed to casually mention a question, that if someone proposed to you, would you accept? Elon was stunned. She thought of the captain who had confessed his feelings to her a few days ago. Perhaps she should have been more direct in rejecting him then. Elon thought for a moment and told the emperor, I would probably refuse, because now is not the time. The emperor seemed to have taken a calming pill. His expression softened a lot. He stood up and pulled Elon into his arms. The female guard, who was unexpectedly pregnant with the emperor's child, was preparing to run away with the baby. In the morning, when Elon woke up, she felt her taste had become very abnormal. Her mind was crazily craving chicken skewers. To eat this, she dared to go to the shop early in the morning, only to find it wasn't even open. As a result, she was in a low mood during her morning shift. She couldn't help but ask the physician what was wrong with her. Why did she lose control of her emotions over a small issue like food? The physician told her that this is what happens when you're pregnant. The treatment is to eat whatever you want to eat. Elon was still rational. No matter what, she couldn't leave her post during work to buy food. But soon after, the royal physician bought her chicken skewers. But Elon had no appetite. For some reason, she suddenly didn't want to eat a single bite. Instead, she started craving fruit. The royal physician was understanding. During this period, food cravings often change. It's very normal. A little while later, the royal physician brought her a box of fruit. Elon was surprised. How did you buy it so quickly? The physician casually explained that he had used some connections. Elon didn't believe him. This fruit looked very expensive. What kind of connections could get this? She felt the royal physician was very suspicious. Although Elon had the contract he signed, she still couldn't trust him. Moreover, after her morning sickness stopped, her physical condition improved, and she sensed that someone was watching her. She had two suspects, either the royal physician or Miss Elisa. It was said that Elisa was particularly cruel to the young ladies who got close to the emperor. Elisa must have seen her sitting on the emperor's lap that day. Perhaps she would come for revenge. Elon secretly made up her mind. She had to find a way to solve this matter. Although her relationship with the captain had become awkward last time, he was the only one she could ask for help now. Unexpectedly, a teammate told her that the captain had been transferred to the north. The teammate didn't know the reason for the transfer either. Elon felt a trace of unease. The north was often frequented by barbarian tribes. To put it nicely, it was a dispatch. To put it bluntly, it was a punishment. Lost in thought, Elon unknowingly ran into the royal physician. She felt the physician might know something, so she asked if he knew why the captain was dispatched. It was obvious the royal physician knew the inside story. He wasn't surprised to hear this news, but he only left a sentence. How would a mere physician like me know? Elon's unease was infinitely magnified. She took off running. This place. She couldn't stay long. Perhaps it was time for her to leave. But in that instant, the gentle face of Kyle from her dreams flashed in her mind. She actually felt a sense of regret that she would never see that face in her dreams again. The vice captain returned Elon's resignation letter. She questioned the vice captain why he wouldn't let her resign. The vice captain told her that the reason for her resignation was a health issue, which required a diagnosis and a certificate from 3 palace doctors. Elon stood there powerlessly. She definitely couldn't find find doctors. That would expose her pregnancy. If she couldn't resign, she would either die at the hands of the emperor or be hunted down by Elisa. Moreover, her body shape was changing. If she continued to stay, she would be discovered sooner or later. She could only run away. Elon packed her luggage in the middle of the night and left with her horse. The female guard tried to run away with the baby, but was discovered by the emperor, who sent people to search the entire city for her. Resting in a tree, Elon saw a group of shadow guards. His Majesty the Emperor actually sent shadow guards to catch her. Fortunately, these people's search was fruitless, and they went elsewhere. Elon peacefully took a nap in the tree. When she opened her eyes, Elon found herself in the dream again. The Emperor was sitting beside her with a displeased expression. He questioned Elon why she left him. Elon only vaguely said it was due to health issues. The Emperor begged her to come back. He promised Elon he would find the best doctors in the world to treat her. The Emperor in the dream was still so gentle, but Elon knew clearly that this was just a dream. The real Emperor was cruel and cold-blooded, without a shred of mercy. Elon secretly warned herself not to confuse the dream Emperor with the real one. Elon turned her head away, avoiding the dream Emperor's gaze. This is not a treatable illness. The Emperor anxiously asked her what illness it was that made her like this. But Elon said she had no reason to tell him. The Emperor anxiously grabbed Elon's shoulders, making her face him. "Tell me, or do you hate me?" Elon stumbled from the grab. The Emperor nervously supported her, his hand touching her belly. The Emperor seemed to have just realized something. Could this be your illness? Elon's heart skipped a beat. But the Emperor had already seen through everything. "I know you're carrying my child." Elon was aghast, completely frozen on the spot. She had always thought this gentle Emperor was just a person she fantasized about in her dreams. But it was all actually real. Elon's heart pounded as she clutched her clothes. But the Emperor didn't notice Elon's emotions. His mind was now completely focused on keeping Elon. "If you come back, I can forgive you. Come back to my side. This is my child after all, Elon." But Elon only asked when he had known. The Emperor confessed from the very beginning. Hearing this answer, a trace of anger rose in Elon's heart. She said sarcastically to the Emperor, "It seems this is both a dream and reality. But even so, it doesn't change anything." Seeing Elon like this, the Emperor felt a little uneasy. He told Elon that she would become his empress in the future, and their child would become the crown prince. But Elon refused without a second thought. She couldn't forgive the Emperor, who knew everything yet treated her like a fool. "You said you don't like liars. Neither do I." After speaking, Elon jumped down from the tree without hesitation. She forced herself to wake up. The Emperor looked at the departing Elon with a grim face. In that case, he could only forcefully capture her and bring her back. The awakened Elon found that it was already dawn. After getting down from the tree, she intended to get her horse. A shadow guard who had been waiting for a long time suddenly appeared behind her. "His Majesty wants to see you." The shadow guard didn't dare to harm Elon and tried to persuade her to go with him obediently. But Elon took out the dagger from her sleeve and threw it forcefully at the shadow guard. This attack wouldn't cause much harm to the shadow guard, but Elon had bought enough time to escape. She ran swiftly through the forest. Last night, these shadow guards hadn't found her. It was obvious that the Emperor must have found her hiding place through the dream. The female guard pregnant with the Emperor's child wanted to run away with him, and now she was facing a crisis. Everywhere were people sent by the Emperor to catch her. She originally thought the Emperor knew nothing, but now she realized she was the joke. Since becoming pregnant, she had lived in constant fear in the palace. If the Emperor knew everything that had happened until now, it meant he knew how hard her pregnancy was, how anxious and uneasy she was, and just stood by and watched. Then he used some unknown magic to enter her dreams and kindly tell her that if she went back, he would make her the Empress. Thinking of this, Elon gritted her teeth and held back her tears. The Emperor just watched her become a mess like that. The more she thought about it, the more wronged Elon felt, and she shed tears. After a while, Elon found a hiding place and shook off the shadow guards. Only then did she calm down and think about what to do next. If she slept, the Emperor would definitely come to her dreams again. But she couldn't go without sleep forever. Elon suddenly remembered a country where the people were skilled in magic and curses. She could go there. With a goal set, Elon used local materials to dye her conspicuous pink hair brown. This should make her less noticeable. Elon avoided capture along the way. After a frantic rush, she finally arrived in the neighboring country. To travel faster, she hadn't rested much and had lost a lot of weight. She immediately found a sage who understood magic and asked how to break the magic of meeting in dreams. The sage examined it and told her this was a magic that allows one to enter the dreams of their beloved. He didn't know how to break the magic, but staying away from the caster would work, because this kind of magic only works at close range. As long as you stay far away from the other person, the power connecting the dreams will weaken. Elon breathed a sigh of relief. She politely thanked the sage. As long as there was a way, it was good, but this meant she had to flee even farther away. But her belly was getting bigger and bigger. She couldn't keep running. Elon secretly made up her mind to find a sparsely populated place and live there quietly. Meanwhile, the emperor in the palace was furiously slamming his fist on the table. He blamed the shadow guards for being useless. The emperor's expression was so grim, it looked like water could drip from it. Issue a wanted notice and seal the borders. Finally, he didn't forget to add, and you must not harm her. The shadow guards immediately went to carry out the order. The emperor secretly regretted being too careless with Elon. He wanted to kidnap someone to threaten Elon, but found that Elon wasn't close to anyone here. He couldn't threaten her at all. He was completely helpless against Elon. Wanted posters for Elon were posted all over the country. Even the captain at the border saw it. He couldn't believe that the well-behaved Elon could have offended the emperor. A teammate told the captain that although the emperor had ordered Elon's capture, he demanded she be brought back unharmed. Hearing this, the captain suddenly realized something. Elon refused to tell him who the child's father was. Could Elon be pregnant with the emperor's child? That would explain why the emperor arranged a royal physician to be by her side and was now hunting her down. But why did Elon run away? Unless the emperor did something that made Elon uncomfortable. The emperor was a cruel and ruthless person. In this matter, he very likely did not care about Elon's feelings. Perhaps Elon ran away out of fear and terror. Thinking of this, a trace of anger flashed in the captain's eyes. His parents were killed by the emperor. He had submitted to the emperor only to avenge his parents. But now, he was about to lose another person he loved. The captain made up his mind that he must return to the imperial capital. To get news of Elon, he had to stay by the emperor's side. At this moment, a teammate suddenly came to inform the captain, "His Majesty the Emperor has ordered you to return to the imperial capital." The captain was stunned for a moment. Although he didn't know the emperor's intentions, this was an opportunity for him. The female guard who ran away with the baby was not only not caught by the emperor, but also lived peacefully in a small, sparsely populated town for several months. Now, her belly was very prominent. The people in the small town were very friendly to her as a pregnant woman and would often come to help. Elon's days here were peaceful and secure. Every day, she would gently stroke her belly, softly telling the child inside of her love. As an orphan, the child in her belly would be her first family member. Elon eagerly awaited the child's arrival. Time slowly passed. Elon safely gave birth to a pair of fraternal twins, a boy and a girl. She named her son Enlil and her daughter Lien. Her son, Enlil, had the same pink hair as her, but his eyes inherited the emperor's golden pupils. Her daughter's eyes, however, inherited her sapphire blue pupils, but her hair color was the same as the emperor's. But Elon didn't care at all that the children inherited the emperor's features, because they were not the emperor's children, but her children. Taking care of two children at the same time was exhausting for Elon. After putting the two children to sleep, the exhausted Elon also went to take a nap. In her dream, she was in a pitch-black place. She anxiously called her children's names. Suddenly, a pair of hands appeared from behind. "Found you." The emperor appeared behind Elon. He approached Elon with a frosty expression. "Elon, do you think you can escape from my grasp?" Elon was so scared she struggled hard to break free. But the emperor paid no attention to Elon's terror. "Don't worry, I will raise the children well. After all, they are not your children, but our children." Elon was startled awake, only to realize she had just had a nightmare. She worriedly got out of bed to check on the children. Looking at the sweetly sleeping siblings, Elon, with tears in her eyes, vowed to protect them well. A few hours later, the shadow guards found this place. Unfortunately, they were a step too late. Elon had already left. The house was cleaned as if no one had ever lived there. The shadow guards searched for a long time. Although they only found a stuffed doll, it was enough to show that her child had been born. Time flew by without notice. Elon's 2 children were already 5 years old. For these 5 years, she never stayed in one place for too long. Although as the children grew older, running away became easier. But Elon knew she couldn't always have her children live such a life. Looking at her 2 well-behaved and sensible children eating on their own, Elon felt happy and satisfied from the bottom of her heart. It had been 5 years. The Emperor should have given up looking for her by now. Maybe she could stay here. Suddenly, a knock came from the door. Elon reassured the children to eat first. She cautiously walked to the door to see who it was. Hearing a familiar voice, Elon breathed a sigh of relief. The visitor was Abel. A group of strangers had come to this village before. Abel was one of them. Elon's daughter clearly liked Abel's arrival and greeted him warmly. It was said that Abel was a nobleman who had fled. He was very approachable and quickly got along with the villagers. But Elon had always been wary of him. Looking at her daughter, who was close to Abel, Elon told her to go back and eat properly. After the meal, Elon planned to go out to gather wild vegetables. The 2 children wanted to go with her. Abel said he was idle anyway and wanted to go along too. Elon couldn't stop him and could only let him follow, speechless. And so, the group of 4 went up the mountain. As they passed the fields, the discussion of a few passers-by reached Elon's ears. Why is the emperor of that empire going to such lengths to find one person? Hearing this, Elon's body stiffened. The emperor still hadn't given up looking for her. It seemed she would have to move again soon. Coming back to her senses, Elon noticed Abel standing beside her with an ugly expression. The female guard who had been fleeing the emperor with her children for 5 years had been found by the emperor. While gathering wild vegetables in the wild, Elon encountered a wild boar. Elon could see that the wild boar intended to attack them. She first told the 2 children in the distance not to move. Although the siblings were scared, they obediently stood still. Dealing with this wild boar was a piece of cake for Elon. But with Abel beside her, if she made a move, she might expose her identity. She secretly decided to pretend to be an ordinary person and run away. Elon put on a clumsy performance, acting scared. Abel coolly drew his sword, indicating he would handle it. But he didn't even scratch the wild boar. The wild boar charged straight for Elon. Elon sighed helplessly. She could only take out the dagger she carried with her and finish the wild boar in one move. Abel was stunned by her skill. Elon then handed the dagger to him. The arriving villagers thought it was Abel who had dealt with the wild boar. Abel wanted to explain that Elon did it, but Elon, holding her 2 children, pretended to be crying in fear from the wild boar. Abel could only confusedly admit that he was the one who dealt with it. The children curiously asked their mother why she lied. Elon could only make something up. This kind of lie is okay to tell. Otherwise, the Demon King will come and get us. The 2 children immediately understood and even promised to help their mother keep the secret. Elon had never been able to explain to the children why they had to keep moving and running away. When the children were older, she only told them that someone was chasing them. The children mistakenly thought that the one chasing them was the evil Demon King from fairy tales. Holding her 2 obedient children, Elon secretly decided to tell them the truth when they were a little older. Since Elon was the one who dealt with the wild boar, Abel gave her a share of the boar meat. Along with it came a wild boar tusk. This was a good thing. It should be worth a lot of money. Elon planned to take it to the city to sell. Before she left, she repeatedly told the children not to open the door for anyone and said she would be back soon. Arriving in town, after handling her business, Elon planned to go to a tavern to gather some recent information. Elon sat in the shop and had a drink. Suddenly, sleepiness washed over her. After rushing and being busy for half a day, she felt very tired. Elon lamented that her stamina was really not what it used to be. The scene before her became blurry. When she opened her eyes again, Elon found herself in a dream. She suddenly had a subtle sense of familiarity. Then came the Emperor's gentle voice, "Long time no see." Elon thought she was just having a nightmare. She calmly took off her hat and faced the Emperor. The Emperor kindly asked her why she had dyed her hair a different color. The next second, his face turned grim, and he frowned. "I've been looking for you for a long time. I never thought you'd be in a place like this." Seeing his expression, Elon finally realized this wasn't a nightmare. It was real. The Emperor had come to her dream again. This meant the Emperor was nearby. The Emperor walked towards Elon step by step. "You always want to get away from me." Elon shrank back. She tried to beg the Emperor to stop chasing her. She just wanted to live a peaceful life. But the Emperor moved closer to Elon and asked softly, "Do you not have any good feelings for me at all?" Elon had to admit to herself that she did have good feelings for him. But when she learned that all of this was the Emperor's plan and that he was manipulating everything from behind the scenes, Elon no longer dared to trust him. She stated firmly that she had no good feelings for him. The Emperor didn't seem surprised by this answer. He chuckled lightly. "Did I ask that so? But even if you hate me, you have to return to the Empire with me." He suddenly asked Elon how the child was. Elon didn't want to reveal anything about the child to him and directly said the child wasn't born. But the Emperor looked indifferent, smiling as he said that they could always have another child. Seeing the Emperor's reaction, Elon's heart sank to the bottom. After 5 years, the Emperor unexpectedly met his long-lost children. After Elon and the Emperor met in the dream, she forced herself to wake up from the dream. Although she knew the Emperor would definitely send people to follow her, she couldn't go straight home. That would expose the existence of her 2 children. She planned to take a detour to shake off her followers before going home. Late at night, the 2 children were anxiously waiting for their mother, who had not yet returned. The older sister was a little afraid of the dark and wanted to turn on the light, but their mother had taught them that they couldn't turn on the lights at home when she wasn't there. The 2 children, afraid of the dark, discussed it and finally lit a candle. With a little light, the siblings dared to lie down on the bed to sleep. Suddenly, there was a noisy conversation outside. It sounded like Uncle Abel. A moment later, there was a knock on the door downstairs. The siblings didn't want to answer. Their mother had told them before she left not to open the door for anyone. But the knocking was urgent and showed no sign of stopping. The siblings could only go to the door to observe. They heard the argument between Uncle Abel and a strange uncle outside. Abel seemed to have noticed the 2 children at the door and asked them where their mother was. Learning that Elon was not home, Abel told the siblings, "Uncle is leaving this place. No matter who comes and asks what, you must say you don't know." After speaking, he left. Only then did the older sister curiously open the door. What she saw was a mess outside. The siblings were a little scared and frantically tried to close the door. Suddenly, a hand rested on the door. A shadow guard stood before them. He asked the 2 children if they knew the man from just now. This shadow guard looked a lot like the villain from a storybook. The siblings said fearfully that they didn't know anything. The captain outside the door urged the shadow guard to take the 2 children back first. The shadow guard could only carry one in each arm and take them away. The captain suddenly felt that these 2 children looked a bit familiar. He wanted to ask who their mother was, but the words stopped at his lips. Such special eye and hair colors, it wasn't hard to guess. They were probably Elon and the Emperor's children. The captain turned and moved away from the siblings. His face was grim and filled with coldness. It seemed Elon had taken good care of these 2 children, but they were the Emperor's children. Thinking of this, a hint of ice flashed in the captain's eyes. The shadow guard brought the 2 children to the Emperor, saying that these 2 children might know the whereabouts of the rebels. The Emperor glanced impatiently, but then froze. The 2 children stood nervously beside him. They had already recognized this person as the Demon King from the fairy tale. The Emperor carefully looked at the younger brother, who had the same golden pupils as him. The younger brother shivered and hid behind his sister. The Emperor asked him how old he was. The younger brother quietly answered that he was 5 years old. The Emperor raised an eyebrow and asked the shadow guard where Elon was. The shadow guard respectfully replied that she had wandered outside the city for a long time after leaving. The Emperor thought for a moment, then squatted down to carefully observe the 2 children. It had to be said, the 2 of them looked just like Elon. He asked the 2 who their father was. The siblings looked confused and said they didn't know. The Emperor sighed. It seemed Elon really resisted him. The Emperor tried to ask the 2, "What if I am your father? Look closely. Don't you think we look alike?" The siblings were clearly very resistant to looking like the Demon King. The older sister, in a fit of excitement, blurted out, "We don't look like the Demon King at all." Seeing the Emperor's face instantly become expressionless, she was a little scared and covered her mouth. The Emperor slowly moved closer to the 2 children. "Oh, I'm the Demon King? Then you are the Demon King's children." Seeing the stunned siblings, the Emperor pressed on, "Look, whether it's the eyes, hair color, or face, we look very much alike." The siblings were no match for the Demon King before them. The 2 of them pouted their little mouths, their eyes welling up with tears. Loud cries echoed throughout the entire base. The cold-blooded and decisive Emperor didn't know how to get along with his 2 children. It was the first time a child had cried in front of him. The Emperor stood there stiffly, wondering what to do. Suddenly, A gurgling sound came from the two children's stomachs. It seemed these two little ones were tired from crying. The emperor ordered the shadow guards to bring food for the siblings to eat. The siblings drooled at the sight of such a sumptuous meal, but they were afraid the food was poisoned, so neither dared to eat. The emperor thought they were being shy and considerately said he would get them more if it wasn't enough. The older sister couldn't resist the temptation of the delicious food and heroically tested it for poison. The younger brother beside her was already sobbing. "You can't die." Not only was the sister fine, she even stuffed the delicious food into her brother's mouth. The brother ate it with tears in his eyes. The next second, a satisfied expression appeared on his face. This was really too delicious. The emperor couldn't help but smile at the siblings' antics. After the meal, the shadow guard carefully covered the two sleeping children with a blanket. After the emperor dismissed the shadow guards, he quietly walked to the siblings' side. He looked at them with a gentle expression. 2 days later, Elon returned home to find the children gone. Suddenly, there was a noise behind her. Elon immediately raised her sword, ready to fight. Unexpectedly, the person who came was the captain. Elon attacked him without hesitation. "Where are the children?" The captain defended himself while telling Elon to calm down. "The children are with His Majesty now." Elon was stunned. This was the worst-case scenario. The captain urged Elon to run away quickly, but Elon refused. She had to get her children back. The captain continued to persuade her to leave this place first. Besides, the children were not here right now, but at the camp. Elon could make a detailed plan and then go rescue the children. Elon was persuaded by the captain. The captain told her that there were shadow guards all around and urged Elon to injure him and escape. Elon could only do as he said. She secretly vowed in her heart to rescue her children. While escaping, a man suddenly appeared to help her. Elon recognized him. He was one of Abel's men. On the other side, Abel was observing the people chasing Elon with a telescope. He was now very curious about Elon's identity. Elon was clearly highly skilled, but was hiding her abilities. And the woman, the emperor of the empire, was searching for so desperately. Perhaps she had some connection to the emperor. The subordinate brought Elon to Abel. Abel happily greeted Elon, but Elon was cold. She already knew it was because of Abel that her children were taken. Abel scratched his head awkwardly. He roughly told Elon what had happened the night before. He had sent people to look for the children afterward, but they were not found. Elon didn't have much hope for him anyway. She turned to leave, planning to find them herself. Abel wanted to persuade Elon to go with them. The opponent is the emperor of the empire. It will be difficult for you to handle it alone. But Elon insisted on leaving. She could feel that Abel wasn't just trying to help her. He was curious about her and her children's identities. This group was hostile to the empire. Once the children's identities were exposed, they would not treat the children well. Watching Elon's departing figure, Abel couldn't help but tell her, "We will take action at dawn in 2 days." Elon paused for a moment and then continued to leave. She understood Abel's meaning. She could use the chaos on that day to rescue her children. But before that, Elon planned to properly improve her physical strength. She had slacked off a lot after giving birth. Halfway there, she suddenly ran into the captain who had been waiting for her for a long time. The female guard ran away from the emperor with her baby for 5 years, but now her child has been captured by the emperor. Elon asked the captain in front of her if he was also here to capture her, but the captain raised his hands to show that he had no such intention. "To me, you are much more important than the emperor." The commander told Elon that the emperor killed his parents and disguised it as an accident. To survive, he was forced to swear allegiance to the emperor. Elon found it strange. Why would the commander tell him all this? "Aren't you afraid I'll leak it?" The commander's face flushed as he looked at Elon. "I'm telling you because I trust you. Most importantly, I like you." Elon's face turned red at his sudden confession. He awkwardly told the commander to stop joking around. Right now, he just wanted to rescue the 2 children as soon as possible. Speaking of the children, Elon eagerly asked the commander how they were doing. The commander told him the siblings were fine with the emperor, but the emperor had already realized that he was their father. That's why he hadn't harmed the 2 children. This information was somewhat useful. Elon thanked the commander and prepared to leave. The commander offered to help Elon rescue the children, but Elon refused. He didn't trust the commander right now. At night, the emperor woke up and found the 2 children had crawled from the floor onto his bed. These 2 little ones must have mistaken him for Elon. Elon should have discovered the children are with him by now. The emperor closed his eyes. This time, Elon would surely take the initiative to meet him in a dream. As expected, Elon was waiting for him. The emperor happily walked towards him. "Elon." The moment Elon saw the emperor, he immediately grabbed his collar, anxiously asking where the children were. But the emperor played dumb. Children? Didn't you say you didn't have any children? Elon gritted his teeth and told him to stop playing dumb. Give me back my children. But the emperor retorted, why should I do that? They're my children too. Flames of anger surged in Elon's heart. He loudly questioned the emperor, you don't even love them. You're just using them as bait to catch me, aren't you? The emperor was stunned by these words. The next second, he woke up from the dream. Looking at the little one's sleeping face, he began to ponder what love is. Could it be that the love for a child is different from his love for Elon? He tried hard to recall how his mother loved him when he was a child, but he couldn't remember clearly at all. The sister was awakened by the movement. She discovered that she and her brother were next to the Demon King and was so scared she couldn't stop screaming. The emperor, annoyed by the noise, got up with a headache and had the shadow guards change the siblings' clothes. The sister shivered as she hugged her brother, her mind racing. Is the Demon King going to eat them? Unexpectedly, the Demon King had them changed into beautiful clothes and brought them a sumptuous meal. The siblings whispered to each other. Is the Demon King trying to fatten them up to eat them? The brothers seriously analyzed that they weren't very fat yet, so they probably wouldn't be eaten for now. They could enjoy the delicious food without worry. Watching the two constantly chattering children, the emperor thought helplessly, are all children like this? A memory suddenly flashed through his mind. When he was a child, his mother seemed to pat his head. The emperor, mimicking his mother from memory, placed his hand on his son's head. Then he shook his head back and forth. The brother became dizzy from the shaking. The sister protectively hugged her brother, telling the Demon King not to bully him. The emperor looked innocent, saying he didn't bully him. The sister, with tears in her eyes, accused, who shakes someone's head so hard? The emperor looked at his hand in confusion. He hadn't used any force at all. Just how fragile are children? He tried placing his hand on his daughter's head. The sister had an expression of someone facing death. Unexpectedly, the emperor gently stroked her head. She couldn't help but peek at the emperor. This Demon King didn't seem to have any ill intentions towards them, just as he was trying to take away his and the emperor's children amidst the chaos. He was caught on the spot by the emperor. The emperor told him not to put up a pointless struggle. Come back to my side. Elon suddenly felt that he would never understand what the emperor wanted to do. Is this love for him? Obviously not. The emperor clearly knew everything from the beginning, yet he pretended not to know, manipulating everything from behind the scenes. The imperial physician was his arrangement, and the food in the canteen was also his arrangement. The chance encounter on the night of the festival was probably his arrangement too. Now that he saw he was out of control, he captured his children. Can this be called love? If he knew what love was, he wouldn't do this. Elon wanted to use himself to threaten the emperor into releasing the children. But the emperor, with a frosty expression, told Elon, if you die, they will be useless. Do you think I won't lay a hand on them? Elon dropped his sword. With tears in his eyes and a face full of despair, he looked at the emperor. You are truly cruel. Seeing Elon like this, Emperor Kyle's heart couldn't help but ache with sharp pains. He had gotten his wish, but why did his heart feel so miserable? The emperor as a child was also once an innocent and carefree boy. But ever since his loving mother died, the emperor began to be indifferent to him. The empress even instigated the emperor to throw him into the cold northern training facility. That place was simply hell. The most terrifying thing there was the day after day brainwashing. Every day, you could hear the wails of those who refused to be brainwashed. This was enough to cause a mental breakdown. He could only rely on the warm memories his mother gave him to survive such a hellish life. But the daily abuse and beatings made him understand that to survive, he had to abandon these warm memories and emotions. The emperor, who once dared not even kill an ant, was trained into a cold-blooded, obedient assassin. It wasn't until his strength surpassed that of the group of people guarding him that he found an opportunity to execute them with his own hands. In the face of his formidable power, all the shadow guards trained here willingly followed him. Afterward, he used force to reclaim what was his. For this throne, he himself couldn't remember how much blood had been shed. On the day of his ascension, everyone was cheering, but his heart felt a strange sense of emptiness. He didn't know what kind of expression to make. until one day he saw that splash of pink. He was complaining about his superior with an angry face, but the emperor found him so vibrant. He was like the spring flowers he and his mother had seen together. From that day on, he would unconsciously pay attention to him. That was the first time he wanted to understand a person, and also the first time an obsession was born. His feelings for him grew stronger and stronger, gradually growing into an indestructible monster. Can this feeling be called love? Just as he was pondering this question, on the night of the festival, Elon grabbed his hand. Suddenly, he didn't want to miss that moment, which led to all that followed. After capturing Elon, the emperor brought him to a room and told him to rest well. Elon wanted to take the opportunity to launch a sneak attack on the emperor, but found that the emperor was just standing quietly with his back to him, seemingly deep in thought. From this angle, he looked quite handsome. Elon instantly shook his head to clear his thoughts. The emperor is off his guard right now. Perhaps it's a good opportunity to knock him out first. But after thinking about it, he decided against it. Even if he knocked him out, there were still shadow guards around. Besides, he still didn't know where the children were. Abel's people should have withdrawn as well. It would be difficult for him to escape on his own. He could only figure out a way later. The emperor brought back the female guard who had fled from him for 5 years. Returning to the empire, he almost lost him completely. In the morning, the emperor took Elon to eat. Seeing the lavish meal, Elon felt a slight sense of relief. The children must be eating well here. As the two were eating, the commander suddenly arrived. "Your Majesty, you were looking for me." A trace of gloom flashed across the emperor's face. He quickly returned to his usual demeanor. "I am returning to the empire. The remaining rebels are left for you to clean up." The commander secretly clenched his fists. The emperor wanted to separate him from Elon, but for now he could only endure. The commander respectfully stated that he would handle the cleanup work properly. The emperor sneered inwardly. He had kept him around before because he thought he still had value. Now it was time to discard him. The emperor just wanted to return to the palace quickly and lock Elon up tightly. He was terrified that Elon would leave him again. As long as he was completely locked up, perhaps he wouldn't be so flustered anymore. Elon saw the commander being so respectful to the emperor. Knowing the commander's secret, his mood at this moment was a bit complicated. Meanwhile, Abel, who had failed in his rebellion, was hiding in the woods, secretly pondering the relationship between Elon and the emperor. The emperor of the empire, Elon, and the children he was secretly raising. Abel had an answer in an instant. He ordered his subordinate to investigate Elon thoroughly. A subordinate hurried over, saying there was a new letter. It was a letter from the one who had been funding them. "The emperor is returning to the empire." Abel smiled faintly. The opportunity has come. The next day, Elon and the emperor rode back to the city in the same carriage. The emperor, in a rare show of concern, asked if Elon was feeling uncomfortable anywhere. Elon raised his hands and shook them twice. But the emperor didn't even glance at them. "Besides my hands, my head is also uncomfortable." Elon deliberately argued with him. "I'll be comfortable when I can't see you." The emperor continued to ask. Besides that, Elon fell silent, sulking quietly with a soft hoof. As the group passed through a valley, a pile of giant rocks was suddenly thrown down from both sides. The horses, startled, ran wildly. The inside of the carriage also became bumpy. Elon suddenly saw a horse with no rider. He immediately climbed out of the carriage and jumped onto the horse's back. This was the perfect opportunity to escape. First, find the carriage the children were in. Elon heard the siblings' calls. He immediately rode the horse alongside the carriage. The two children were frightened by the bumpy carriage, helplessly calling for their mother. Elon reached out his hand. "Come here and grab Mom's hand." But the siblings were too timid to move. Elon kept reassuring them. "Do you remember riding a horse last time? You can do it. Trust Mom." The sister mustered her courage and reached her hand out to her mother. Elon successfully caught her. The brother stood there, hesitating, too scared to move. His legs were trembling with fear, and his body was completely frozen. Elon and his sister encouraged him together. The brother tried to reach out his hand, but the carriage hit a rock, and the brother was suddenly jolted out. Outside the window, Elon desperately tried to save his son, but the distance was too great. He watched helplessly as he was about to fall to the ground. Suddenly, the emperor swooped in and caught him. The brother was in disbelief. It was the Demon King who saved him. He wasn't at all like what Mom said. Maybe he's a kind person. Elon also didn't expect the emperor to save his son. He thought the emperor treated the children like strangers. Suddenly, his daughter shouted that there was no road ahead. Only then did Elon realize there was a cliff ahead. But it was too late to turn the horse around. Elon only had time to put his daughter on the ground. but he and the horse fell off the cliff. At the critical moment, he grabbed onto a rock below the cliff with both hands. With no foothold, Elon felt he couldn't hold on much longer. His hands gradually slipped. Is he going to fall? The female guard was about to fall off the cliff, but she was caught by the chain in the Emperor's hand. The Emperor questioned Elon. Is this how you plan to escape? Elon felt the Emperor was being ridiculous. If you're going to pull me up, do it quickly. Just as the Emperor was about to pull him up, he suddenly felt a pain in his back. An arrow had hit him. Blood flowed down his arm onto Elon's face. He called out in a panic, "Your Majesty." The Emperor reassured him, "It's nothing, don't worry." He tried to pull Elon up with force, but more arrows came flying over. Elon watched the scene in horror. If this continues, Kel might die. The Emperor staggered, but he held onto the chain tightly. Elon told him to let go. If this continues, he will die. How could the Emperor let go? He couldn't imagine what his life would be like if he lost Elon. The Emperor gritted his teeth and insisted on pulling Elon up, but Elon begged him to let go sooner. The Emperor wanted to give Elon hope to live. He asked Elon if he had thought about the children. If he died, what would happen to the children? Don't you care how I would treat them? But Elon said with a certain tone, "You won't harm them." He could see the anxious and worried expression on the Emperor's face the moment he saved his son. It couldn't be fake. You love them very much too, don't you? So I'll entrust the children to you. Seeing Elon like this, the Emperor became a little anxious. He wanted to continue comforting Elon, but didn't know what to say. He could only repeat randomly, I can't let go. Elon wanted to continue persuading him. He found that the Emperor was crying with a sad expression. Large tears fell uncontrollably from his eyes. He used his last bit of strength to pull the chain. Just as the chain was about to slip, suddenly a black hand grabbed his. The shadow guard arrived in time and saved the Emperor and Elon. The Emperor collapsed weakly into a shadow guard's arms. Elon wanted to go forward to check the Emperor's injuries, but suddenly his vision blurred and he also collapsed to the ground. When he woke up, he found himself in a tent. The two children were lying beside him. He gently stroked the siblings' heads. Thank goodness they were all right. Elon noticed that the chain on his hand had also been removed. A shadow guard came to ask him how his wound felt. Elon said he was fine. Is His Majesty okay? The shadow guard was silent for a moment, then told him that His Majesty's wound was deep, but thankfully his life was not in danger. Only then did Elon breathe a sigh of relief. The shadow guard asked if he wanted to go see him. Elon retorted, "Aren't you afraid I'll cause trouble?" The shadow guard was a little worried, but only when His Majesty sees that you are safe will he be at ease. This is something all the Shadow Knights know. His Majesty needs you. Elon stood there, stunned. He remembered the Emperor's tearful face. I should go see him. Elon went to the Emperor's tent and was told that the Emperor had just taken medicine and fallen asleep. This was the first time he had seen the Emperor in such a sorry state. The Emperor seemed to know Elon had come and tried hard to open his eyes. His vision was blurry as he looked at the person before him. He uncertainly raised a trembling hand. "Elon, is that you?" Elon held his hand back. The injured and sick Emperor was incredibly happy and content at this moment. "This time you came to my side first. I'm so happy." The female guard was gentle with the Emperor for once, but the sick Emperor thought he was just dreaming. Elon gently stroked his head. This gesture made the medicated Emperor feel increasingly sleepy. He murmured, "This is a really nice dream." After the Emperor fell asleep, Elon went back to coax the two children to sleep. Stroking the siblings' heads made Elon think of the vulnerable Emperor from just now. Always so cold-blooded and powerful. But when he was sick, he looked incredibly fragile, just like these two children. Meanwhile, the commander, who had stayed at the camp, did not obediently go to capture the remaining rebels. He even funded that group of people. At this moment, he received a reply from the rebels. He was very satisfied to see the news of the Emperor's injury. But when he saw that the Emperor was injured while saving the woman who fell off the cliff, the commander's lips instantly pressed into a thin line. He clenched the letter in his hand tightly. These foolish rebels. With the slightest mistake, Elon could have lost his life. He couldn't let Elon and the Emperor get entangled any longer. He had to find a way to separate them. Otherwise, Elon would be in danger if he stayed by the Emperor's side. On the other side, a subordinate brought Abel Elon's wanted poster from 5 years ago. Abel could basically guess the story behind Elon. What was more interesting was that the person who funded them had specifically written a letter telling them not to harm Elon. Abel guessed that this person was likely a confidant of the Emperor. It would be a bit difficult for him not to harm Elon. For the sake of revenge, he would stop at nothing, even if it meant harming the innocent. Since the Emperor would risk his life for an ordinary woman, he He must make good use of this point. Meanwhile, on the other side, Elon was secretly worried about the Emperor. Although the doctor said His Majesty the Emperor would recover soon, he was still lying in bed. What if he really couldn't get up? The two little figures in Elon's mind were fighting. One told him not to worry about the Emperor anymore. He was the one who had threatened him with the children. The other told him he had to go see the Emperor. After all, the Emperor had saved the children and him at that time. Elon was so conflicted his head ached. In the end, he still went to visit the Emperor. The Emperor, who was sleeping a second ago. The next second, as if he knew he had arrived, immediately reached out his hand happily. Elon, you came today too. Seeing the Emperor like this, Elon's heart softened and he held his hand back. The Emperor beamed with a happy face. You've been by my side all this time. I'm willing to have a dream like this for a lifetime. Elon also wished this was all a dream. The Emperor was clearly so cold to the children, but his worried and anxious expression when he saved them couldn't be faked. He even shed tears in front of him. Which one is the Emperor's true face? He could clearly be as gentle as he is now. Why did he do so many cruel things before? Elon temporarily pushed aside these worries, gently stroking the Emperor's hair. He seemed to like this gesture very much, his whole person becoming much more relaxed and lazy. When I was sick, my mother would also stroke my hair like this. Elon was slightly surprised. He had never heard the Emperor mention his mother. Perhaps because the Emperor was sick, he proudly shared many interesting stories from his childhood with him. I loved to read when I was a child. The idea of such a tempestuous emperor reading quietly was something Elon couldn't imagine. The Emperor was amused by his reaction and laughed. It's true. As long as I had a new book, I wouldn't be bored for a whole day. The Emperor seemed to remember something, and his expression suddenly became blank again. But these are all things of the past. For me, the sword is more suitable than a book. The weak and incompetent will only have everything taken away from them. The Emperor's words made Elon fall into deep thought. He only came back to his senses after returning to his own tent. Looking at his two lovely children, Elon felt all his worries disappear. The Emperor was still injured, the situation was chaotic, and he didn't know when they might be attacked again. Elon only hoped that the children could be safe. In the middle of the night, a shadow guard suddenly came to inform him that they were under attack. In order to keep the female guard, the Emperor did not hesitate to use his own wound to gain her concern. Because of the attack, Elon took the children and followed the shadow guard to the Emperor's side. He saw the injured Emperor sitting on the edge of the bed with a gloomy face. Elon wondered if the Emperor's wound had healed. How could he get up so quickly? The news of the rebel attack filled the Emperor with rage. These people are really like insects. How can they never be completely killed? Get rid of them all. The brother stepped forward and made a sound. Only then did the Emperor notice that Elon had brought the children over. His expression immediately softened. The brother worriedly asked if he was seriously injured. They already knew that the Emperor was injured because he saved their mother. The siblings sincerely apologized to the Emperor. Thank you for saving our mother. Mom taught them that they must apologize promptly when they receive help. Elon looked at his two children with relief. The Emperor also looked at the siblings with a gentle face. This was the first time Elon had seen the Emperor with such an expression. Suddenly, a clamor of noise came from outside the tent. It seemed the rebels had found them. Elon immediately asked the Emperor for a weapon. The Emperor was stunned for a moment before reacting. Elon was never a greenhouse flower that needed protection. He handed the sword to Elon. Don't overdo it. Elon told the siblings to hide under the bed first. You must stay inside until Mom comes back. He tied up his hair and walked out of the tent with the Emperor, fighting side by side. After fighting for a while, he noticed that the Emperor's wound had opened. He complained, telling the Emperor not to use too much force if his body hadn't recovered. Leave the rest to me. Seeing Elon's figure wielding the sword, the Emperor couldn't help but smile. As expected, he still loved the sight of Elon wielding a sword the most. Soon, reinforcements arrived. Only then did the rebels retreat. It's finally over. After fighting for so long, Elon's stamina was almost depleted. Suddenly, the Emperor behind him staggered and fainted. He slowly opened his eyes after a while. Elon anxiously and worriedly asked him how he felt. The Emperor reassured Elon that he was fine and told him not to worry. Elon was about to get up to find the doctor when a figure suddenly blocked their path. It was the commander. His entire face was hidden in the shadows, and Elon couldn't see his expression, but he inexplicably felt a murderous aura from him. The commander clenched the sword in his hand and thrust it forcefully into the ground, kneeling with concern on his face. Your humble servant was late in coming to the rescue. Is your majesty all right? And you, Elon? Elon thought he might have been mistaken just now. He told the commander that his majesty's wound had opened up from the fight. The commander suggested they help the emperor lie down elsewhere. Just as Elon was about to move, his hand was tightly gripped by the emperor. He was in a daze, constantly murmuring Elon's name. Elon didn't understand why he felt so uneasy. Was he afraid the emperor would die? He had always hated the emperor, but why now? Did he not want him to die at all? When the emperor woke up, he anxiously looked for Elon. He found him asleep, leaning against the bed. The emperor quietly got up and held his hand tightly. Elon had no idea how much pain he had gone through in the years he had been searching for him. The wound on his back had almost healed, but to make it look serious, he had deliberately fought violently to make the wound reopen. Even if the wound now burned like fire, he didn't care. As long as this wound could become the chain that bound Elon, he was willing to bet his life on it. So don't leave me. What answered him was Elon's sleeping face. When the female guard woke up, she found the emperor sleeping right beside her, still holding her hand tightly. What is this situation? Suddenly, a guard reported from outside the tent, "Your Majesty, the king has come to see you. Do you wish to see him?" They were currently on another country's territory. Elon felt it was necessary to wake the emperor up for a meeting. Under Elon's frantic shaking, the emperor couldn't even pretend to be asleep anymore. Upon seeing the emperor, the king quickly apologized for being late to the rescue. But the emperor looked displeased. "You really have no tact." My rare time alone with Elon was interrupted. Seeing the king's clueless expression, the emperor helplessly pressed his hand to his forehead. "Never mind, it's nothing. After I've sorted things out here, I will return to the empire." The king immediately and eagerly offered to escort him back. The emperor refused. The king wanted to be more attentive, but seeing the emperor's impatient gaze, he immediately and timidly shut his mouth. At this time, the commander was powerlessly punching a tree. Why would Elon stay by the emperor's side? Didn't he fear and hate the emperor? Had he already forgiven the emperor? Why? The commander had never wanted to kill the emperor more than at this moment. He secretly decided he had to act quickly. Meanwhile, on the other side, Abel was also powerlessly pounding the table. It was a perfect opportunity. They had already intercepted all the carrier pigeons and messengers. Logically, no reinforcements should have come. Abel suspected that someone might have leaked the information. A subordinate reminded him of the person who provided them with funds. Abel remembered that person. They were not allowed to harm Elon. Could it be that the person was afraid Elon would be in mortal danger, so they overturned the plan? Abel's face instantly became incredibly ugly. This mistake cannot happen again. Next time must be a success. At night, a shadow guard informed Elon that they would return to the Empire tomorrow. Elon was a little worried about the Emperor's injury. The wound is so serious. Is it really okay to travel in such a hurry? The shadow guard was sweating inwardly. The Emperor's body has already recovered, but His Majesty forbade him from telling Elon. The reason the Emperor gave was, "That way he will stay by my side." The shadow guard could only make something up to Elon. Perhaps His Majesty is worried about leaving you and the children in a place like this, so he is in a hurry to leave. After the shadow guard left, Elon secretly worried about the Emperor's wound. It's impossible for His Majesty the Emperor to have recovered so quickly. Could it really be that he is forcing himself because he is worried about him and the children? A trace of guilt arose in Elon's heart. The next morning, he planned to go see the Emperor. On the way, he met the commander. When the commander saw Elon, he immediately avoided his gaze. He left without even a greeting, leaving Elon standing there awkwardly. Arriving at the Emperor's tent, a shadow guard went in to announce him before allowing him to enter. As a result, when Elon entered, he saw this scheming man changing his own dressing and bandaging his wound. Seeing the Emperor's difficulty in moving, Elon naturally offered to help him apply the medicine. While applying the medicine, the Emperor shivered a few times from the pain. This again drew Elon's concern. After bandaging it, Elon asked him if he really planned to return to the Empire. "Can you travel with your current physical condition?" But the Emperor thought Elon didn't want to return to the Empire and wanted to stay here to find a chance to escape. He smiled, but his words were full of sarcasm. "I know what you're hoping for. Don't worry, I won't die on the way back." Elon was confused by his words. The Emperor continued sarcastically, "Don't pretend you're not. Haven't you always want to get rid of me? I finally got to see you. I will definitely not die. Elon felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his passionate heart. He was genuinely worried about the Emperor, but his meaning was casually misinterpreted by him. Elon clenched his fists. A trace of sadness was in his heart. You really haven't changed at all, he added in his heart. Still the same cold-blooded and ruthless Emperor. Although he didn't understand why Elon said this, the Emperor still replied with a blank face. Because that's who I am. The Emperor, facing an uphill battle to win her back, is finally taking Elon back to the Empire. When he came, he was alone. On the way back, it was a family of 4. Elon in the carriage felt that the most awkward thing at the moment was running into former colleagues. It was too awkward. Because of this, Elon tried to avoid them from all angles. Only the 2 children and Elon were in the carriage. The Emperor did not ride with them. The 2 children chattered nonstop along the way. The sister suddenly asked her mother if the Emperor was really their father. Elon suddenly didn't know how to answer. He originally didn't want the children to know about this. He didn't expect the Emperor to have already told them. The siblings looked at their silent mother with some unease. The brother thoughtfully comforted him. If it's not convenient to say, you can tell us later. Elon was pleased with the siblings' thoughtfulness. He promised the children that he would definitely tell them when he had the chance in the future. At night, the convoy stopped at a duke's territory. They would rest here for the night. Elon looked outside the carriage at all his former colleagues, hesitating, not knowing what to do. A shadow guard suddenly brought a cloak for him to put on. Only then did Elon dare to get out of the carriage. Could this have been specially arranged by the Emperor? Elon felt he really couldn't figure out the Emperor's thoughts. Once in the room, the 2 little ones were jumping nonstop on the soft bed. Elon was lecturing them not to disturb others so late at night. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. He opened the door to find the commander standing outside. Elon, can we talk? Elon agreed. He asked the commander what he wanted so late at night. The commander asked Elon with a gentle expression if he still remembered what he had said before. Elon thought for a moment. It must be about him wanting to be the children's father. Elon said that it had been several years and there was nothing to talk about. But the commander was resolute. Elon, my feelings have never changed. I want to be the person who can help you through difficulties, someone you can rely on. Towards the end, the commander's emotions suddenly became sad, which made it impossible for Elon to say no. He asked with concern what was wrong with the commander. I'm fine. The commander's eyes glistened with tears. It's just, why do you always go to places I can't reach? Elon was a bit unsure how to face the commander like this. The commander reached out, wanting to hold Elon's hand, but he was interrupted by a voice from behind. A team member walked over. Commander, are you there? The commander clenched his fist in frustration. Next time, I hope to hear a different answer. After saying that, the commander turned and left. Elon stood there, a little helpless. He didn't know how to handle this matter. Returning to the room and seeing the sleeping siblings, Elon also shook off his worries and prepared to sleep. When he opened his eyes, Elon saw the Emperor had appeared in his room. Elon sat up nervously. He realized the Emperor had entered his dream without permission. Elon was speechless. He told the Emperor not to do this kind of thing again in the future. But the Emperor had an expression of, what can you do about it? Do you want me to come find you in person? Of course, I'd like that too. It's just that it would attract people's attention. Elon felt the Emperor was becoming more and more shameless. He asked the Emperor what he wanted in his dream. The Emperor didn't beat around the bush and got straight to the point. What did you and the commander talk about? Elon felt inexplicably guilty. Nothing much, just that if I need help, I should find him. But the Emperor slowly moved closer to Elon, speaking in a strange tone. He's really considerate. You two seem quite close, don't you? Elon frowned. Could the Emperor have sent someone to watch him again? It's just concern between colleagues. Hearing this, the Emperor's face darkened a little. You'd better just remain colleagues. Elon forced himself to wake up. Thanks to the Emperor, he stayed up all night. When the female guard left the Emperor, she was pregnant. When the Emperor brought her back, the children were already 5 years old. Looking at the familiar imperial capital before him, Elon was filled with emotion. After the carriage stopped, the Emperor gently extended his hand to help Elon out of the carriage. Elon did not accept the Emperor's kindness. He didn't give him a pleasant look and got out of the carriage on his own. He then turned around with a smile to help the children down. This display of double standards made the Emperor feel helpless. Elon really didn't expect that the place the Emperor had him stay was the Palace of Wind. This was the palace where the Empress lived. But the Emperor replied, as if it were a matter of course, "What does it matter? You'll be the Empress soon." Elon felt like he'd been struck by lightning. He would have to be crazy to want to be the Empress. Becoming a couple with this cold-blooded Emperor would make it impossible to guarantee his peaceful life and the safety of his children. He would never be the empress. The children who got out of the carriage, however, were very happy to be able to live in a palace from a fairy tale book. The emperor gave Ilan a tour, introducing each place. Although these rooms had been tidied up, traces of someone else having lived there could still be seen. Ilan guessed that this was probably where the emperor's mother once lived. The emperor introduced the head maid of the palace to Ilan. From now on, she would be in charge of Ilan's daily life in the Palace of Wind. After the emperor left, Ilan felt a little awkward facing the unfamiliar maid. But the maid was gentle and friendly to Ilan. She told Ilan to feel free to ask for anything he needed. The two children were happily playing in the palace. The brother suddenly saw a book with the name Kyle written in it. The siblings went through all the toys and books here. They all had Kyle's name on them. The brother told his mother about this discovery. Only then did Ilan realize that the sick emperor that day had said he loved books as a child. It turned out to be true. At the time, he thought the emperor was making up lies to arouse his sympathy. The emperor must have gone through something to become the cruel person he is now. Ilan shook his head. He absolutely did not want to know about the emperor's past. He was afraid that the more he knew, the more he would sympathize with and understand him. The brother curiously asked his mother if she knew this person. Ilan closed the book and said he didn't know him at all. A moment later, the maid came to inform the three of them to go for their meal. In the hallway, the siblings were curious about a portrait that was covered with a cloth. The maid explained as she uncovered the cloth. This is a portrait of the previous master of the palace. Ilan recognized the child in the portrait as the emperor. The person next to him should be his mother. So the emperor also had such a well-behaved and cute time. On the other side, Elisa heard that His Majesty the Emperor had returned. She was preparing to dress up beautifully to see His Majesty the Emperor. She wanted the emperor to only look at her. Elisa knew very well that the emperor could not yet abandon the ducal house. She was the most likely to become the empress. If it weren't for the ducal house, how could the abandoned prince have what he has today? Elisa was confident that she would get everything. She wanted both love and power. But the maid ran over in a panic and told her that His Majesty seemed to have brought someone to live in the Palace of Wind. Elisa stood up in a rage and asked the maid who had moved in. The maid said she had already sent someone to find out. Elisa gritted her teeth with an ugly expression, telling the maid to find out who it was quickly. The female guard still wanted to escape with her children. Since moving into the Palace of Wind, Ilan could always feel some faint, indistinct gazes. The news that he was living in the Palace of Wind had probably spread. Ilan was worried that once he and the children were exposed, the nobles would definitely try every means to get rid of them. This place was too dangerous. He had to continue to find a way to escape. But the maids in the Palace of Wind were watching him too closely. Ilan couldn't think of any way to avoid them. The two little ones were playing carefree in the courtyard. Ilan sighed, both happy and helpless. These two little ones still didn't know their current situation. The siblings suddenly discovered a small horse. It turned out that the emperor had specially brought it as a gift for the two children. One black horse and one white horse. The siblings clearly loved this gift very much. They led the small horses over and asked Ilan if they could ride them. Ilan was a bit shocked. These were priceless Persian horses. The emperor explained that he had bought them as a gift for the children. This gift was too valuable, and Ilan wanted to refuse. Seeing the happy expressions on the siblings' faces, he couldn't bring himself to refuse. The siblings were even already giving the horses names. Ilan could only accept them with tears in his eyes. The emperor couldn't help but smile. Ilan was stunned. The emperor seemed to smile more often here. Unconsciously, he thought of the portrait of the emperor as a child again. Ilan shook his head to stop thinking about it. Under the warm sunlight, Ilan and the emperor patiently taught the siblings how to ride. The sister, who was lifted onto the horse by the emperor, shyly thanked him. "Thank you for helping me up, and I'm sorry for calling you the Demon King last time." The emperor was stunned for a moment, then smiled gently. The sister curiously asked the emperor what she should call him. Her mother called him Your Majesty. Should they call him that too? The emperor told them to just call him Kyle. The siblings remembered. Isn't Kyle the child in the portrait? And the name written on all the books and toys in the room was his. It was as if the two children had instantly closed the distance with the emperor. They lazily asked him about the fairy tale books and toys. Ilan was worried the emperor would get angry and wanted to stop the children. But he found that the emperor seemed very peaceful. This was different from his usual self. Facing the two children, the emperor seemed to have infinite patience. Looking at him like this, he seemed quite like a father. Elon immediately told himself to wake up. He still had to escape. The emperor being nice to the children must be to make him lower his guard. Seeing Elon standing still, the emperor turned and asked him, "Aren't you coming?" "My rabbit." Elon and the children were a bit confused. "What rabbit?" The emperor explained with a smile. Elon is very much like a rabbit he raised as a child. He was as active as Elon, often doing unexpected things, and loved to cause trouble. But in front of his mother, he became very well behaved. That was particularly funny, especially the way Elon sleeps, just like a cute rabbit. Elon asked speechlessly, "So you like me because I'm like that rabbit?" The emperor said it wasn't entirely that. "I can only say that I initially noticed you because of that. At that time, you were complaining about your superior. For some reason, you attracted me." Elon was shocked. Why was he seen at such a moment? The emperor moved closer to Elon and asked him, after hearing so much, "Have you developed some good feelings for me?" Elon frowned and stepped back. "You locked me in this kind of palace. How could I possibly develop good feelings?" But the emperor said he wasn't confining him. "As long as you don't take the children, you can go out any time." Elon asked uncertainly, "Really?" The emperor looked confident. "Anyway, you wouldn't abandon the children and run away." Elon certainly couldn't leave the children behind, but this would make it convenient for him to go out and gather information. Seeing Elon's silence, the emperor turned and complained to the children, "Your mother wants to abandon you and leave by herself." Elon quickly covered his mouth, but the emperor took the opportunity to hold his hand. Elon jumped up in shock. This person is really annoying. He must leave this place. The emperor wanted the female guard to be the empress, but the female guard became a thorn in others' side. In the morning, Elon planned to visit his former colleagues. The first person he met at the door was the commander. Elon enthusiastically went up to greet him, but after a few pleasantries, the conversation died down. They didn't know what to say. Elon awkwardly said goodbye to the commander, but the commander stopped him. He told Elon to think carefully before making any decisions and not to rush. Although His Majesty is fine now, there's no guarantee he will be in the future. You'd better not let your guard down around him. Meanwhile, Elisa's maid had already found out about the situation in the Palace of Wind. A pink-haired woman and 2 children were living there. The pink hair instantly made Elisa think of someone. It was that female guard from back then. Elisa angrily slammed her fist on the table. A mere female guard dares to covet her position as empress. Elisa was also very dissatisfied with the emperor. Their family had been assisting the emperor all along. She thought the position of empress was hers for the taking. She never expected the emperor to repay kindness with ingratitude. Elisa's face darkened as she told her maid to prepare the carriage. She was going to the palace. On her way to the palace, the unstoppable Elisa ran into her own brother. The commander advised her to go back. Elisa was already in a bad mood and instantly vented her anger. "Why should I listen to you, brother? You want to interfere with me now. Even if you're my brother, don't even think about standing in my way." The commander continued to persuade her. "His Majesty has no feelings for you. He's just using you to deal with the women who get close to him." Elisa was stunned for a moment. But so what? The position of empress was hers. Elisa strode away. "No matter what, I must see His Majesty." The commander could only watch her leave helplessly. Arriving at the entrance to the emperor's office, she was stopped. "His Majesty has ordered that no outsiders are allowed to enter or exit." Elisa was displeased. She had never been stopped before. Now His Majesty was treating her as an outsider. How could His Majesty do this to her? Elisa angrily told the shadow guard to quickly report to His Majesty that Elisa of the Crescentia ducal house was here. After a while, the reporting shadow guard came out. His Majesty said that if it won't take too long, he can see you. Only then did Elisa smile. That's more like it. How could His Majesty abandon her? Elisa's steps were filled with a bit of joy. Arriving inside, Elisa politely curtsied to the emperor. The emperor asked her what she wanted. "You were away for so long. This humble girl missed you terribly and came to see you." But the emperor coldly interrupted her. "You and I are not in any special relationship. I hope you will not come to see me in this manner in the future." Elisa was stunned by these words. The emperor seemed very impatient to deal with her and got up to leave. Before leaving, he dropped a sentence. "Know your place." Elisa, somewhat losing control, chased after the emperor and asked, "What do you mean? Weren't you planning to marry me as your empress?" But the emperor's face turned cold, his eyes becoming icy. "Stop dreaming. I never thought of marrying you as my empress." After saying that, he left, leaving Elisa, who couldn't accept the truth, standing there with a tear-streaked face. She had once sworn allegiance to the emperor and even loved him deeply. Now he wanted to get rid of her. She would not give up so easily. In the hallway, Elisa suddenly saw a woman with pink hair. Without thinking, she went up and pulled off the woman's hood. It was indeed Elon. Elon greeted Elisa a bit awkwardly, but Elisa got straight to the point. "You're the one living in the Palace of Wind, aren't you?" Elon played dumb, saying he didn't know what she was talking about. But Elisa's face was fierce as she warned Elon through gritted teeth. "Since you stole my things, you should be prepared to pay the price." The female guard moved into the Empress's palace, but was seen as an imaginary enemy. Elon looked at the fierce-faced Elisa, threatening him. Thinking that Elisa might harm his children, Elon's face instantly darkened. He forcefully grabbed Elisa's wrist. "Miss Elisa, let me give you a piece of advice as well. If you dare to touch a single hair on the people I care about, I will never let you go." This murderous gaze made Elisa shiver involuntarily. She immediately shook off Elon's hand. "You're just a mere commoner." But Elon smiled with a hidden threat. "Yes, I am just a commoner. I'm used to struggling and fighting. I don't care about methods or means. So you'd better be careful." Elisa gritted her teeth and glared at Elon unwillingly. Even if he said that, she would never back down. Meanwhile, on the other side, Abel's people had already found out that Elon was living in the Palace of Wind with his children. It seems he is really important to the Emperor. Elon is the Emperor's weakness. Next, he will make good use of Elon. Abel lamented that there were no insiders to assist them. Most of the nobles had submitted to the Emperor. A subordinate suggested that they could find people from the Crescentia ducal house. Once they know how their parents died, they will surely be filled with hatred for the Emperor. Abel instantly thought of Miss Elisa. She seems to have her eyes on the position of Empress. Abel's lips curled into a smile. Perhaps they could use this to their advantage. After Elisa left, Elon wandered the hallway with his thoughts in a mess. No matter what, he couldn't just sit and wait. Thinking about it, the Emperor seemed to have been close to Elisa before. Could it be that the Emperor likes Elisa and him at the same time? If it wasn't sincere, the Emperor had no reason to keep Elisa by his side before. Could it be that he planned to discard her after using her? The more Elon thought about it, the angrier he got. He angrily opened the door to find the Emperor. The Emperor asked him gently, "Is something wrong?" But Elon strode in aggressively. "Don't pretend you don't know." The Emperor was full of question marks. Elon told the Emperor he had met Miss Elisa. At the mention of this name, the Emperor's brow furrowed slightly. He told Elon not to mind what she said. Anyway, the Crescentia family will soon have no use value. Elon was surprised. Does the Emperor intend to destroy the Crescentia family? One must know that when he was still a prince, he relied on the help of the ducal house to ascend the throne. But the Emperor gave a sarcastic smile. "Help. If that can be called help, then let's call it help." The Emperor explained to Elon that back then, he was just an abandoned prince. The Duke helped him to gain more power, and the Emperor just needed nobles to support him. There was no such thing as who helped whom. It was just mutual exploitation. The Emperor looked at Elon with self-deprecation. Isn't this very cliché copyright? A useful puppet prince and the powerful nobles. He told Elon not to worry about these things, not even to look or listen. "Anyway, this is all my destiny, my hell." Elon admitted that his heart softened when he heard these things from the Emperor. No, he had to try to steady his heart. Elon righteously accused the Emperor. Liking Elisa and him at the same time is very bad behavior. The Emperor was completely baffled. When did he ever like Elisa? Elon stated that before the festival, he had always kept Elisa by his side. The Emperor quickly explained that he had no feelings for Elisa. Elon angrily accused the Emperor. "Then you should have made it clear to Elisa. Is it appropriate to ask me out under those circumstances?" The Emperor could only relent and admit his fault. "I admit I was too hasty at the time." Elon was so angry he didn't know what to do. He couldn't hit the Emperor. He could only point at him and leave with a sentence. "You are not to come near me or the children for the time being." Then he pulled the door open and left. The Emperor, left behind, couldn't help but want to laugh at Elon's childish behavior. But he was glad that Elon didn't get to the bottom of it. Elon didn't need to know too much about him. As long as he could appropriately arouse his sympathy, it was enough. The female guard, who had wanted to escape the cold-blooded Emperor, felt pity for him after hearing about his past. Elon immediately told himself to stop. If he continued to be swayed like this, When the opportunity to get rid of him came, Elon felt he might not be able to leave him easily. But for the next few days, Elon was listless. Even the children noticed that something was wrong with their mother. The siblings guessed it might be because that person named Kyle hadn't come for a few days. The maid came over to ask the two little ones to help carry something. As a result, what Elon saw was a pile of gifts sent by the emperor. Elon was just speechless. He told the emperor not to come near him and the children, so he sent gifts instead. Anyway, it wouldn't be long before the emperor would come over on his own, using the excuse of missing them. However, one day, 2 days, a week passed. The pile of gifts grew higher and higher, but there was still no sign of the emperor. Elon was a bit confused about what the emperor was thinking. Just because he said not to come, he really didn't come? The emperor seemed to be gradually changing from before, but Elon felt a sense of loss in his heart. He actually missed the old emperor a little. Elon decided that he could no longer avoid the emperor's past. He planned to find out what the emperor had experienced in his childhood. First, find out the truth, then decide on the next step. The Palace of Wind, where he currently lived, was where the emperor had lived as a child. Clues should be easy to find here. Elon came to the room where the emperor had lived as a child and suddenly noticed writing on the wall. It is now 12 o'clock. The brave guard saved the prince. And so the prince became very happy. Was this His Majesty the Emperor's childhood wish? Elon didn't know why he felt a trace of sadness in his heart. He leaned against the wall and couldn't help but ask softly, did the prince become happy? The emperor suddenly appeared behind him and called Elon's name. Elon jumped away from the wall in fright. He turned around and stammered, asking the emperor how he got here. Didn't I tell you not to come near us? The emperor said he saw the children go out to play and planned to drop off a gift and leave. Elon told the emperor not to send any more gifts. There were really too many. Many of them hadn't even been opened yet. But the emperor felt that these were far from enough. The children were about to become a prince and princess. Elon couldn't quite process it. When were the two little ones going to become royalty? But the emperor said he would announce this soon. Elon didn't want the children to become royalty at all. But the emperor didn't want to continue arguing about this topic. He was more concerned about something else. He asked Elon with a gloomy face, I see you've been carefully searching the entire palace. Are you looking for a way to escape from me? The emperor, facing an uphill battle to win her back, guessed that the female guard would continue to try to escape. But he couldn't have guessed that the female guard would one day take the initiative to get closer to him. The emperor warned Elon not to think about escaping from him. But Elon, uncharacteristically, did not argue with him. I'm not running away. I'm just looking for traces of your past. Elon told the emperor seriously that he wanted to know more about him. But the emperor thought Elon was making excuses. I thought you already knew me very well. Elon said with some emotion that he wanted to understand the abyss he spoke of. Only then did the emperor know he had misunderstood Elon. His attitude softened. He asked Elon why he didn't just ask him directly if he wanted to know these things. Why bother searching the palace? Elon was at a loss for words. After thinking for a long time, he didn't know what to say. The emperor said it for him. You were afraid I would be in pain, so you didn't ask me, right? It's okay. I've long been numb to the pain I suffered there. Hearing this, Elon felt a pang of heartache. Didn't you say that was your hell? But the emperor, with an indifferent expression, told him how he became emperor and how he and the nobles used each other. But Elon interrupted him. You know that's not what I want to know. Seeing Elon's expression that he wouldn't give up until he was told, the emperor could only speak helplessly. It's not a pleasant story. The place where he was as a child was an assassination organization. That place would kidnap children. Then they would train them to be assassins, brainwashing them with severe torture, making the children obey only them. He luckily escaped their brainwashing and did not lose his mind. He endured until his strength was great enough, and then he personally eliminated everything that had caused him pain. The emperor seemed to have given up resisting and confessed everything to Elon. After that, I reclaimed my position, got rid of all unnecessary things. Those who sold me, those who stood by and watched, none were spared. After hearing these words, Elon said with complicated feelings, that's terrible. The emperor seemed to have lost the courage to look Elon in the eye, his head hanging dejectedly. Yes, I told you you'd regret hearing it. But Elon stepped forward and hugged him. You did very well. While listening to the emperor's story, he had wanted to hug him like this several times. So the royal family was so cruel. A group of people, in order to protect their own positions, did not hesitate to send a young child to hell. The emperor's experience made him feel heartbroken and sad. But this made Elan even more determined that he would never let the two children become royalty. The emperor, being hugged by Elan, had a flash of astonishment in his eyes. A warm current flowed into his numb and cold heart. Elan could always do things that surprised him. The aloof and cruel emperor completely turned into a clingy person. Ever since he discovered that the female guard Elan didn't care about his past, the emperor wanted to hug Elan whenever he had the chance. Elan was a little unaccustomed to the suddenly changed emperor and even thought something might have happened to him. He asked with a worried face, "What's wrong?" But the emperor leaned against Elan in a cheerful mood. "I just want to hug you." Just as Elan was about to break free from the emperor's embrace, the emperor held him tighter, speaking cautiously, "Elan, I did well, right?" This vulnerable appearance immediately softened Elan's heart. Not only did he let him hug him, but he also comforted him. "You did very well." The two clingy lovebirds had no idea that danger was approaching. The night before, a mysterious woman came to see Abel, offering a high price for Abel to get a woman out of the palace. Abel could tell at a glance that the woman before him was sent by Elisa. He had already cast his net. It would be strange if the other party didn't come to him. Abel pretended not to know anything and asked her who she wanted to kidnap. "Bring out the pink-haired woman living in the Palace of Wind." Abel smiled faintly. It was exactly as he had guessed. The woman generously threw down a deposit and information. It would be best to bring out her two children as well. But the main target is the woman. Abel smiled and accepted. Everything was within his calculations. After finishing her task, the maid returned and reported everything to Elisa. Only then did Elisa feel relieved. "Get rid of her after this is done." Hearing this, the maid trembled with fear. "Are we really going to be okay doing this?" She had seen how cruel the emperor could be. "What if something happens to you?" Elisa gently wiped away her tears, comforting the maid not to worry. "It will definitely not be discovered. Just watch me ascend to the position of empress." But the maid felt a sense of unease in her heart. The next day, the commander, who had come to the palace, felt that something was not right. He could feel the rebels' actual movements, but they were different from what they had told him. Why were these rebels bypassing him and acting on their own? The commander suddenly realized that these people were likely planning to target Elan in the Palace of Wind. After all, the fact that someone was living in the Palace of Wind was no longer secret. Thinking of this, the commander quickly ran towards the Palace of Wind. He had to tell Elan to be careful. As a result, when the commander arrived at the Palace of Wind, he saw the two of them hugging intimately. He stared at the two with an ugly expression. The emperor, that shameless person, was always clinging to Elan. And why has Elan's attitude towards the emperor changed now? The commander made a soft sound to attract his attention. "Elan." Elan indeed noticed that someone seemed to be calling him. He instantly broke free from the emperor's embrace and told the emperor not to send any more gifts. The emperor stood there, a little confused. "It's my freedom whether I send them or not." Elan retorted stubbornly. "Then it's my freedom not to accept them. And you're still in a state of being forbidden to approach." The emperor could only compromise helplessly, saying he would come again tomorrow. Elan was a little surprised by the emperor's obedience. He really couldn't figure out the emperor's thoughts. After the emperor left, the commander walked out from the shadows towards Elan. The maid suddenly appeared and blocked Elan's way. "His Majesty has ordered that no one else may enter this palace." Elan walked forward indifferently. "Just let me out." This action stunned the maid. She really couldn't stop him. Elan slowly walked towards the commander. The emperor's cruel and cold-blooded persona had completely collapsed. The female guard really couldn't handle it. In the morning, the commander found Elan and told him that his current situation was very dangerous. "I can't tell you the specific reason. In short, you must be careful about everything." But Elan said he already knew. Elisa, who wanted to become the empress, would definitely make a move against him. Elan thanked the commander for his concern. "But from now on, you don't need to worry about my affairs anymore." The commander was surprised why Elan was distancing himself from him. Elan quickly explained that he didn't want to involve anyone in his affairs. Hearing this, the commander looked hurt. "I'm not just anyone. Elan, why do you always draw a line between us?" Elan was in a difficult position. He was worried that if the commander got involved with him, he would be in danger. But the commander firmly stated, "Even if I'm in danger, I won't give up on you." Elon turned to leave helplessly. Staying away from me is helping me. But the commander grabbed Elon's hand and asked if it was because of His Majesty the Emperor. It was obvious that the commander thought this staying away meant he was afraid of making the Emperor jealous, not that he was worried about him being in danger. Elon was instantly angered, shook off the commander's hand, and warned him not to come again. The furious Elon returned to his room. He felt that both the Emperor and the commander had changed. Everything felt very wrong. Elon forced himself to cast aside all his worries and take a good afternoon nap. But when he opened his eyes, he saw the Emperor lying beside him again. Elon sat up abruptly. I clearly told you not to enter my dreams without permission anymore. But the Emperor turned a deaf ear, opened his arms, and gently told Elon to come over. Elon was being driven crazy by the Emperor's behavior. His Majesty's persona, which had only shown minor cracks the past 2 days, had completely collapsed in this dream. Elon, blushing and flustered, was about to turn her head away, but the Emperor gently yet firmly held her face, making her look at him. I'm already like this, and you're still not moved? The two were too close, and the blush on Elon's face became even more pronounced. She nervously averted her eyes. Why are you doing this? But the Emperor, his face full of affection, placed a kiss on her hand. Although the Emperor's persona had collapsed, Elon truly couldn't refuse his loving gaze. Her heart pounded like thunder. She stammered, just be a little nicer to me usually. The Emperor slowly moved closer to Elon. I'll be good to you. Just as a kiss was about to land, Elon suddenly fell off the bed. The dream was over. Elon found it strange. Why did the Emperor in the dream seem so different from his usual self? In a flash, she realized, could this really be a dream born from her daytime thoughts? Hearing the noise, a handmaiden immediately entered the room and asked with concern what was wrong with Elon. Before Elon could say much, the handmaiden's sharp eyes noticed the wound on Elon's wrist. Elon told her not to worry, that she just scraped it when she fell out of bed and it would heal quickly. But the handmaiden insisted on calling the royal physician. Elon could only let her go in resignation. A familiar royal physician appeared before Elon and even gave her a playful wink. Elon felt as if she'd been struck by lightning. Why him again? The female guard just wanted to live an ordinary life. But the Emperor was secretly plotting to make her the Empress. Elon was an orphan. The Emperor planned to have Count Hest adopt Elon as his daughter. That way, no one could criticize Elon's birth. Although what Elon wanted was a peaceful and stable life, the person to sit on the Empress's throne could only be Elon. Suddenly, a shadow guard came to inform the Emperor that Elon was injured. The handmaiden had already called for the royal physician. The Emperor immediately put down his work and rushed to the Palace of Wind. In the Palace of Wind, Elon, whose wound had just been bandaged by the royal physician, was stunned to hear the handmaiden's announcement. His Majesty is outside the door now. He says he will only enter if Miss Elon agrees. Elon found it strange. When did the Emperor become so polite? She could only go out to see the Emperor. Why are you waiting outside? Not coming in directly like you usually do. The Emperor said with an aggrieved tone, you told me not to approach you without permission. I heard you were injured, and I was so worried that I rushed over. If my being here makes you uncomfortable, then I'll go back. This string of aggrieved words made Elon inexplicably feel as if she had done something wrong. She quickly tried to soothe the Emperor, but I'm not uncomfortable. Thank you for your concern. The Emperor curiously asked how Elon got injured. At this, Elon got angry. She complained internally, isn't it because of you? Seeing the Emperor's confused look, Elon became even angrier. He had clearly come into her dream, and now he was pretending not to know. Elon was about to open her mouth and condemn the Emperor, but suddenly froze. She couldn't be sure if the Emperor had really come into her dream. What if it was just a dream she had from thinking about him all day? Seeing Elon's reaction, the Emperor wore a mischievous smile. It seems something related to me happened. Elon immediately denied it. Nothing happened at all. The Emperor guessed. Did you see me in your dream? Elon looked at him with a face full of condemnation. Oh, it was you. But the Emperor declared his innocence. I have been trying my best to keep my promise to you, so I have also been restraining myself from entering your dreams. Elon was embarrassed. She had given herself away. The Emperor slowly moved closer to why Elon It seems you really did see me in your dream. Elon still wanted to struggle, but the emperor moved closer to Elon and asked like this, just as a kiss was about to land. Elon instantly pushed the emperor away, turned, and strode back, hiding her face, which was flushed red with shyness. But the emperor continued to say things that made Elon blush. I am right here in person. I can satisfy whatever you desire. Elon, red-faced, glared at the emperor. This man was truly detestable. The next day, at the entrance of the Palace of Wind, the guards were inspecting the food supplies delivered for the day. Dolph was a familiar face to the guards, but the stranger in a cloak next to him aroused the guard's suspicion. Abel, under the cloak, greeted the guard with a natural expression that I'm his cousin's son. My name is Eric. The guard lowered his guard. After checking that the food supplies were fine, he let them pass. Abel finally snuck into the Palace of Wind. To get in here, he had his men kidnap the coachman's grandson, threatening the coachman to help him get into the Palace of Wind. Only then did he succeed. Everything was proceeding smoothly. The female guard was already starting to waver towards the emperor, who was trying to win her back, and was once again forced to be separated from the emperor. Elon opened her eyes to find that she had dreamed of the emperor again. The emperor in the dream gently caressed her face, speaking sweet nothings that shattered his persona. M.Y. Rabbit, you are as cute as ever today. Elon shook off the emperor's hand, but the emperor in the dream wasn't annoyed at all. He still looked at her with a loving expression. This made it a bit hard for Elon to be harsh. She suspected this wasn't her own dream, but that the emperor had really come into her dream. Otherwise, it was impossible for her to dream of the emperor so often. Seeing the emperor closing in again, Elon felt she couldn't handle it. Suddenly, a clamor of voices rang out. Elon woke up with a start. A building not far from the Palace of Wind was on fire. The fire was fierce, with thick smoke filling the sky. Elon hurried to find the two children. Just as she stepped out, she saw the handmaiden bringing the brother and sister over safely. The handmaiden told Elon that the warehouse was on fire. She had taken a quick look and suspected it was arson. Elon could feel that this fire was very likely aimed at her. She asked the handmaiden for a sword. I can't completely entrust the children's lives to others. At least let me protect myself in a critical moment. The handmaiden was convinced and agreed to get a sword for her. While the handmaiden was gone, Elon told the two children that bad people might be coming. She instructed the siblings to hide well when necessary. Elon knelt and hugged the siblings. She felt a faint unease in her heart, worried that she might not be able to protect the two children this time. Soon, the handmaiden returned with the sword. After giving the sword to Elon, the handmaiden told her not to run around. I'm going to patrol the surroundings in case there are intruders. You stay here. The handmaiden, walking towards the stairs, slowly put on her gloves. Holding the sword, her entire aura changed, as if she were a seasoned, stunning assassin. Two rebels saw the handmaiden blocking the way and rushed forward to attack without a second thought. They were dealt with by the handmaiden in a few moves. Soon, a shadow guard rushed over to inform her there was a traitor. All our messages have been intercepted. The handmaiden immediately rushed anxiously to Elon's residence. The situation was very bad. She secretly prayed for Elon's safety. Upstairs, after the handmaiden left, Elon heard a clamor of noise from outside. She told the two children to find a place to hide. The two children hid in the fireplace. Unexpectedly, there was a secret passage inside. Elon breathed a sigh of relief. This was good too. The children should be able to escape safely. Elon had already realized there was a traitor. The people outside being able to attack so quickly meant someone must have told them the internal layout of the Palace of Wind. Thinking of this, Elon tightened her grip on the sword. This was also what she had always worried about. If she became a member of the royal family, those who coveted power and those who possessed it would threaten her and the children's safety for a lifetime. Miss Alyssa and those rebels, countless people were watching them. Soon, Abel, wearing a cloak, found his way here. He took off his hood and greeted Elon. Long time no see, Elon. Elon didn't expect it would be Abel who came to capture her. Abel told Elon to come with him obediently, and he would guarantee not to harm her. After all, the only one we hate is the Emperor. I don't want a pointless fight. We just need to eliminate the Emperor. You don't like him either, do you? Elon obviously couldn't just surrender. Her two children were the Emperor's flesh and blood. Once the Emperor died, the rebels would not spare the children either. Although the Emperor had ruined her peaceful life, and she had thought about getting revenge on him before, but now she was a little unsure. However, there was one thing she was very sure of. She must protect her two children. Thinking of this, Elon took a fighting stance, raised her sword towards Abel. The Emperor, still trying to win back his love, had not yet succeeded before losing his beloved woman. At this moment, Elon was fighting 1 against 2, against Abel and his subordinate. Although the fight was difficult, her goal was to hold out until someone came to rescue her. Abel and his subordinate were also struggling. They really hadn't expected Elon to be so tough. Abel tried to persuade Elon to stop struggling, but Elon showed no intention of stopping the duel. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through her wrist. Her previous wound had split open. Elon gritted her teeth, wanting to hold on, but her sword was knocked away by Abel. Abel told her the duel was over. Elon still wanted to hold on a little longer. Reinforcements should be arriving soon. Just then, another strange man walked into the room. He rudely urged Abel to hurry up. Elon, however, stood her ground, refusing to leave with Abel that you'll have to kill me. Abel still wanted to continue persuading Elon, but was stabbed by the strange man who stepped forward. Abel was stunned. He loudly accused the man, "Are you crazy?" The man was sent by Alyssa and obviously wouldn't listen to Abel's commands. Who cares if she lives or dies? Alyssa's original order was to dispose of Elon. Abel secretly regretted letting this group of people come. He took off his cloak to stop the bleeding from Elon's wound. In pain, Elon's vision gradually blurred. Before passing out, the figure that came to her mind was the Emperor's. When the handmaiden and the shadow guard arrived, they only saw bloodstains on the carpet. The handmaiden examined the signs of a fight around the room. It was clear that Elon had likely been kidnapped. She gritted her teeth and secretly prayed that nothing would happen to Elon. The Emperor only arrived after the fire was extinguished. He only cared about one question now: where is Elon? Arriving in the room, the handmaiden knelt respectfully and reported to the Emperor everything that had happened since the fire started. "We have already captured several suspects." But the Emperor, with a cold face, said he didn't care about that. What about Elon's whereabouts? The handmaiden replied with a guilty face, "It seems Miss Elon fought with the intruders here. Based on the current situation, the bloodstains left behind should be Miss Elon's." The Emperor instantly lost his composure. In disbelief, he knelt to examine the bloodstains. These people actually hurt Elon. Why must someone always try to take away his happiness? The Emperor gritted his teeth. He would never let these people go. The Emperor stood up and asked the handmaiden, "What about the children?" The handmaiden's head hung even lower. "We are searching with all our might." The Emperor, his face full of fury, accused her, "You can't do a single thing right." The handmaiden immediately admitted her fault, asking the Emperor to punish her. The Emperor slowly extended his hand, but then retracted it. "Forget it. We'll talk about it later. Right now, you must find Elon and the children with all your might." The handmaiden was stunned. His Majesty the Emperor had changed. In the past, he would never have given her a second chance. Could it be that he changed because he now had something important? The handmaiden clutched her skirt in self-reproach. She had failed to protect the person so important to His Majesty. Thinking of this, the handmaiden's eyes filled with determination as she told the Emperor, "Your servant will find them at any cost." Soon, the handmaiden followed the Emperor to the dungeon. A captive who had broken into the Palace of Wind was imprisoned here. But after a long interrogation, the man refused to say a word. His willpower was very strong. The Emperor told the guards to leave. He intended to interrogate the captive personally. The captive, however, continuously taunted the Emperor that "I won't say anything." Originally, the Emperor, afraid that Elon would dislike his cruel side, had been suppressing himself. Now, he completely let go. The Emperor stood before the captive with his tools. "You can look forward to my interrogation techniques, because I received special training, unlike those gentle people." Soon, screams echoed from the dungeon. A shadow guard suddenly came to report a new discovery to the Emperor. "Your Majesty, upon reinvestigation, we found no signs of movement at the entrance of the secret passage. It's very likely the two young highnesses escaped from there." The Emperor immediately dropped what he was doing and rushed to find the two children. The Emperor's beloved female guard had been kidnapped, and their two children were also missing. Hearing the shadow guard report that they had found a trace of the siblings, the Emperor hurried over. The fleeing siblings were sitting in the secret passage, worrying about their mother. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps approached. The siblings tensed, preparing to flee again. In his haste, the brother accidentally tripped himself. The footsteps behind them instantly quickened. The siblings hugged each other in fear. The sister closed her eyes in terror. "Lien Enril." That voice was so familiar. The The sister slowly opened her eyes. She saw the emperor looking at them with a worried expression. Are you all right? Only then did the siblings relax. Seeing the familiar emperor, all the grievances from their escape flooded their hearts. Large tears instantly fell. The two children rushed up to hug the emperor, seeking comfort. The sister, while sobbing, was also worried about their mother. The straightforward emperor told them directly, Ilan has been kidnapped. The two children's tears instantly fell even more fiercely. The emperor quickly comforted the siblings. Don't worry. He hugged the two children, as if comforting them, or perhaps comforting himself that I will definitely find Ilan. You can rest assured. At this time, Alyssa was sitting on pins and needles. The handmaiden could see that Alyssa was worried about being discovered by the emperor. She comforted her, don't worry too much. We barely used anyone from the ducal house. Alyssa, coming to her senses, nodded. Yes, that's right. This plan will definitely succeed. I took such a huge risk. By the end, her tone started to sound uncertain. It has to succeed. Abel had taken Ilan to a forest. Alyssa's guards demanded they leave Ilan behind. Of course, Abel refused. Keeping Ilan was of great use to him. The guard immediately snapped his fingers. A group of people came out and surrounded Abel and his men. Abel and his subordinate could only fight first. When the battle stopped, his subordinate told him that Ilan was gone. Ilan, who had escaped during the chaos, was enduring severe pain trying to find the emperor. On the other side, the commander sensed that the atmosphere in the palace was not quite right. He had already heard about the fire at the Palace of Wind and that someone had been thrown into the dungeon at dawn. Could Ilan have been kidnapped by those rebels? The commander forced himself to calm down. First, he analyzed who would cooperate with those rebels to infiltrate the Palace of Wind. The most likely possibility was Alyssa. He had just arrived at Alyssa's door when he heard a furious roar from inside. That woman escaped. After being captured, the seriously injured female guard took the opportunity to escape. She was so close to being reunited with the emperor. Hearing that Ilan had actually escaped, Alyssa was on the verge of a breakdown. She had spent so much money to commission those people, and they still let her get away. If His Majesty the Emperor found out, it would be over. The commander, who had heard everything at the door, pushed it open and strode in. Alyssa, what do you mean by that? Alyssa tried to play dumb. The commander said he had heard everything. He grabbed Alyssa's shoulders and asked her what she had done. Tell me everything. I am your only brother. Hearing this, Alyssa's eyes were full of mockery. Brother? But you have never once treated me like a brother. Alyssa loudly accused the commander. You don't care about me at all. You don't care what I'm doing. When our parents died, the only one by my side was my handmaiden. Now you're pretending to be a brother. Hearing these words, a trace of heartache and guilt flashed in the commander's eyes. Alyssa, with tears in her eyes, still told the commander everything. I commissioned people from the back alley. I had them kidnap Ilan, but that woman escaped. Having confessed everything, Alyssa looked mockingly at her brother, who only knew how to care about others. So, if you want to find her yourself. But the commander sincerely apologized for his past actions, that I have always felt guilty towards you. This is sincere. Perhaps if he had cared a little more about Alyssa, none of this would have happened. But it seemed too late to say this now. Take care, Alyssa. The commander turned and left, leaving Alyssa standing there in a daze. The commander first had the butler round up all the people who answered to Alyssa. Seeing these people before him, the commander sighed slightly. None of them were particularly skilled or had a good reputation. He first asked them gently to tell him about the incident at the Palace of Wind. After learning what had happened, the commander's mood was a bit complicated. Alyssa didn't even know the other party's identity and dared to join forces with them to do something against the emperor. She wasn't this kind of child. After learning the truth, the commander had his subordinates dispose of all these people. He couldn't let Alyssa leave any loose ends. The injured Ilan finally managed to make it to the outside of the palace. She could already see her former colleagues. Ilan was just about to call out when Abel covered her mouth from behind. Ilan struggled with all her might. Due to her severe injuries, she fainted after a short while. The three of them were now outside the palace. The slightest misstep could get them caught. The subordinate suggested he attract the guard's attention so Abel could take the chance to escape. Abel was still a bit hesitant, but the subordinate had already run out. As expected, the guards all went after him. Abel quickly left with Ilan. He could feel Ilan's body getting colder and colder. He had to quickly bring Ilan to the doctor at their hideout. The emperor's beloved female guard had been missing for several days. days. The city had been searched almost completely, but Elon was still not found. The emperor wanted to hold an investiture ceremony for the two children as princess and prince in 3 days. Only by making the children members of the royal family quickly could they receive more protection. The emperor knew that Elon would definitely not agree to him doing this, but he had no other choice. The handmaiden suggested he first ask the two children for their thoughts. The emperor was persuaded. The two children in the palace, dressed in magnificent clothes, were still a little unaccustomed to it, seeing the emperor and the handmaiden who came to visit them. The two children happily ran up to hug the handmaiden. "Malika, we missed you so much." The handmaiden's heart was melted by the two little ones. After a while, the two children asked nervously, "Have you found Mom?" The handmaiden looked apologetic. "Not yet, but we are all doing our best to find her. His Majesty has exhausted all efforts to find Miss Elon." The siblings were sensible and didn't make a fuss. They even expressed their gratitude to the emperor. The emperor wanted to say something, but couldn't bring himself to speak several times. The handmaiden helped him say it. "His Majesty says he has something to tell you both." The two little ones looked at the emperor curiously, but the emperor felt a strange sadness. What if the children didn't want to become royalty? What if they wanted to leave him just like Elon? The emperor could feel that he was afraid. He thought he had lost that emotion a long time ago. When did he start to waver? Finally, he slowly spoke that, "I plan to add you to the royal family's genealogy." The two children asked with a confused look, "What is that?" The emperor knelt down and explained to them seriously, "IT means you are my children." The siblings were stunned. The emperor apologized to them for not telling them this sooner. The sister was still having trouble processing it. The emperor was really their father. The brother asked what would happen if they were entered into the royal family's genealogy. The emperor stated they would become a prince and a princess. The brother asked another question. "Then Mom will be your Majesty's wife? Is that right?" The emperor nodded. "Elon will become the empress." Hearing this, the two children immediately refused the emperor. They believed that only people who love each other can become a couple. This matter must have their mother's consent, but let's wait until Mom comes back to decide. The emperor wanted to discuss entering the genealogy first and then waiting for Elon, but the two little ones were firmly against it. The emperor wanted his and the female guard's children to join the royal family, but was met with the children's opposition. The handmaiden stepped forward and explained to the siblings, "Only by entering the royal family's genealogy will others not dare to bully you easily. More people will also protect you. This way, Miss Elon can also be protected." The brother was still a little hesitant, but the sister immediately agreed. She didn't want her brother and mother to be hurt again. The brother also agreed. The handmaiden looked at them with relief. "Your Highness Lien, your Highness Enril. Now, neither of you has to bow your heads to anyone. You stand in a position where you can look down on others. Your status will become a shield to protect you." The two little ones were still a bit bewildered. Elon woke up to find herself in a strange room. She clutched her throbbing head, thinking, it must have been Abel who saved her. After all, Abel wanted to use her to threaten the emperor and wouldn't let anything happen to her easily. After a while, Abel walked into the room with a bowl of soup. "Elon, you're awake." He told Elon to drink some soup to recover. But Elon stared at him with fierce eyes. "Who would eat something given by someone like you?" Abel was taken aback. He grabbed Elon's chin, intending to force her to eat. "You have to live. Elon, if you don't eat, I will force feed you." Elon could only knock his hand away and eat by herself. After the meal, Abel told her, "The emperor has mobilized a large number of people to find you. The Shadow Knight Order, the Palace Knight Order, and the Imperial Capital Guard. All just to find you." But Elon thought, the emperor mobilized so many people and still hasn't found her. This means Abel has already taken her out of the city, and it's very likely someone is secretly helping Abel. Elon found it strange. Why was Abel telling her these things? Abel sat down and slowly began to speak. "To be honest, I didn't expect the emperor to go this far. Before this, I wasn't quite sure if he loved you, because he is a very cold-hearted person. Everyone thinks he's a monster, because the emperor doesn't care about anything. It's very difficult to deal with someone who doesn't care about losing anything." Abel's face darkened as he leaned towards Wyla. "Yes, oh, I should thank you. Because now he can finally know how painful it is to lose someone important." Hearing this, Elon gritted her teeth in anger, but could do nothing about it. Abel's next words, however, stunned her. It's just that, Elon, it seems I can't become a monster like him after all. Abel, with a serious face, requested to make a deal with Wailon. As long as you are willing to assist us, I will guarantee your safety. The Emperor's beloved female guard was captured by the rebels. They wanted to use the female guard to kill the Emperor. Abel proposed to make a deal with Elon. As long as she was willing to assist them, Abel could guarantee her safety. Elon paused for a moment. She asked Abel if he could guarantee the children's safety. Seeing Abel remain silent, Elon finished for him. It seems you can't guarantee it. Then I'll pretend I never heard what you just said. But Abel asked, avoiding the question, aren't you afraid? You've been kidnapped, and you're not afraid at all of what will happen? You should be well aware of what kind of fate awaits you. Elon bit her lip. Of course, she knew. When she was in the Guard Corps, she had learned how to respond when captured as a hostage. Even if it meant sacrificing herself, she could not compromise the Emperor's safety. But she couldn't bear to part with her children. Elon clutched the blanket. She wanted to live on with her children. Abel stood up, intending to leave. He told Elon to come find him after she had thought it through. As he reached the door, he deliberately revealed a piece of information to Elon that I forgot to tell you. In 2 days, the investiture ceremony for the princess and prince will be held. I think you know who they are. Elon was aghast. She covered her face helplessly, unable to understand what the Emperor was thinking. Why couldn't he wait until she returned to do this? After thinking for a while, Elon calmed down. She told herself to wait and see. Abel, who had walked out of the room, had an unusually strange and gloomy expression that I will not hesitate any longer. On the other side, Alyssa found out that those 2 children were actually the Emperor's bloodline. In a rage, she tore up the anonymous letter. She had to go and investigate what was going on herself. Alyssa told her handmaiden to prepare the carriage. She was going to meet the person who sent the anonymous letters. The handmaiden hesitated, telling Alyssa to calm down. We don't know the identity of those people yet, do we? But the furious Alyssa couldn't calm down. Her brother was already under surveillance and house arrest. Now, His Majesty was going to add another woman's children to the genealogy. Even if those people were very suspicious, she had no choice but to seek their help. At dawn, Alyssa finally met the person who sent the letter. This mysterious person was wrapped up tightly from head to toe, clearly not wanting to reveal their identity. The 2 shook hands amicably. Alyssa, whose nerves had been extremely tense for the past 2 days, thought in a daze, this person's hand is so warm. Coming back to her senses, she immediately pulled her hand back. The mysterious person told her to come outside with him first. The 2 walked and talked. Alyssa curiously asked the mysterious person where the soldiers monitoring her in the room had gone. The mysterious person said confidently, they've all fallen asleep. You can rest assured. The handmaiden behind them felt that the mysterious person's voice was very familiar. She seemed to have heard it somewhere before. The 2 followed the mysterious person into a carriage. Alyssa asked if he could take off his mask now that I hope we can trust each other in this cooperation. Abel no longer hesitated and generously took off his mask. Alyssa was stunned when she saw his face. The handmaiden loudly questioned him. Aren't you that person from the back alley? Alyssa, however, was calm, but if I remember correctly, your empire should have fallen long ago. And you're the Prince of an AR, right? She had met him when she was a child and had a slight impression. Abel didn't hide it and nodded in acknowledgement. Alyssa guessed Abel's intentions that you want to unilaterally use me to get revenge on the Emperor. But right now, she had nothing that Abel could use. She couldn't understand why Abel was looking for her. Abel said bluntly, your family possesses the Emperor's bloodline, right? Alyssa was not surprised he knew and nodded in acknowledgement. Abel stated his ambition that I will eliminate all royal bloodlines. I want you to help us after you ascend the throne. Alyssa instantly understood his meaning. He wanted her to be a puppet emperor. That wasn't impossible, but I have one condition. She grabbed Abel's collar and stated her demand. Give His Majesty to me. The Emperor's female guard had been missing for some time and still hadn't been found. Although he was anxious, he could only continue to send people to search. At this moment, Alyssa was sitting in Abel's carriage. She had a morbid obsession with the Emperor. Alyssa told Abel that it wasn't impossible for her to be a puppet emperor, but you must hand His Majesty over to me. Even if he's not whole, it's fine. She looked at Abel with an excited expression. Even if His Majesty is tortured to a pulp, even if he goes mad, it doesn't matter. No matter what he becomes, it's fine. Just hand him over to me. Abel asked her why she had to have the emperor. After all, the emperor was the enemy who killed her parents. But Alyssa showed a strange expression that I don't care. I must keep it by my side, no matter what. Abel smiled and agreed. Alyssa asked Abel if he could produce evidence of her royal bloodline. Otherwise, no one would believe it. Abel winked at Alyssa confidently. How could we have sought you out without evidence? He took out a piece of paper and placed it in Alyssa's hand, telling her to take a good look. Alyssa opened it curiously, her eyes filled with shock. My brother actually did something like this. If this was true, then perhaps her brother was also connected to their parents' deaths. After thinking for a moment, she spoke that I am willing to join forces with you. After the two reached an agreement, Alyssa returned home. The commander, who had been waiting in a corner for a long time, asked her where she had been. Alyssa was stunned. The commander's expression was displeased. Didn't I tell you to be confined for a while? Alyssa said innocently that it was too stuffy in the room, and she just went out for a walk. But the commander stepped closer, telling her not to lie. Alyssa said she wasn't lying, but the commander didn't believe her at all. He had the handmaiden lock Alyssa in the East Tower. Alyssa couldn't break free and could only beg her brother to let her go. The commander ignored her. He stopped the handmaiden, Sarah, who wanted to save Alyssa. I have something to say to you alone. Sarah could only follow the commander. The commander asked her if she had heard of a dungeon under the palace. Sarah trembled all over at the thought of the dungeon. That I've heard of it. She asked the commander if he was going to send her there. The commander turned to look at her. Of course not. On the contrary, I'm worried about you. The commander told her that everyone in the palace was now trying their best to find Elon. It was very dangerous for her and Alyssa to be acting on their own like this. Sooner or later, they would be discovered by His Majesty the Emperor. The commander explained that he locked Alyssa in the tower to protect her. If he didn't control Alyssa, she could lose her life with the slightest misstep. If His Majesty the Emperor found out what Alyssa had done, Alyssa would be dragged into the dungeon. Sarah looked terrified upon hearing this. It was clear the word dungeon held a great shadow over her. The commander told her to tell him everything she knew. Sarah stammered for a long time, but finally decided to tell him everything. She didn't want Alyssa to be in danger. The next day, in the palace. Today was the investiture ceremony for the prince and princess. The two little ones were dressed up by the handmaidens and looked happy. The handmaiden, dressed in a shadow guard's uniform, walked over. The two little ones praised her, saying she looked like a knight. The handmaiden accepted their praise with a satisfied look that I was originally a knight. Soon, the emperor walked in with a gloomy face. If you're ready, let's go. The two little ones immediately rushed forward and hugged the emperor's legs. The emperor's expression softened unconsciously. The siblings said seriously that they were ready. When the emperor appeared holding the two children's hands, a clamor arose from the surroundings. Everyone was surprised that His Majesty the Emperor actually had children. Today was the investiture ceremony for the prince and princess. The emperor could only accompany the two little ones this far. The rest of the way, the siblings had to walk by themselves. The emperor encouraged the two little ones. You two will definitely do very well, because you are my and Elon's children. As expected, the siblings were instantly filled with confidence and firmly told the emperor that they would perform well. According to the rules, the emperor entered the hall first. The siblings also encouraged each other and slowly walked towards the hall together. Along the way, there were noisy discussions, including malicious voices that a commoner's child can actually be listed in the genealogy. The mother is of lowly birth. Hearing these malicious voices, the brother felt a little timid and uneasy. The sister encouraged him to keep walking forward. The siblings came before the emperor, bowed, and saluted. Greetings, Your Majesty. The emperor told the two not to be so formal. Just call me father or dad. As soon as he said this, there was an uproar. His Majesty the Emperor was actually going to let these two commoner children into the royal family. The sister was the first to call out Dad. The brother, a little shy, called out Father. The emperor corrected the brother's address. That I said you can call me Dad. But the brother insisted. After all, this is a formal occasion. I'll call you that in private later. Marquis Lewin, watching the ceremony from a distance, saw through the emperor's intentions. The emperor treasured these two children very much, and was also telling those below not to even think about harming them. Then he noticed the commander at the side. He saw him standing in the corner with a grim face and clenched fists. Marquis Lewin found it a bit strange why the commander would be so angry. There must be something behind this. The investiture ceremony had reached its final stage. The The emperor stood up and announced that from now on, the two little ones would have the status of princess and prince. The ceremony was now over. The emperor happily extended his hand and led the two little ones away. At this time, Ilan was in the rebels' territory. She checked her wound. It was healing very slowly. If this continued, she would really be used by the rebels and might even die at their hands. Ilan considered whether she should grab Abel as a hostage when he came. Then she dismissed the idea. In her current physical condition, she probably couldn't beat Abel. Ilan's brows furrowed, and she covered her face in frustration. If only she could tell the emperor her situation, she wouldn't have to be stuck here doing nothing. A flash of inspiration struck Ilan. The emperor could enter her dreams. Thinking of this, Ilan covered herself with the blanket and prepared to sleep. She never thought there would be a day when she would hope for the emperor to enter her dreams. Ilan could only pray that the magic for entering dreams was still effective. The rebel Abel had an unexpected gain. They received a letter from Alyssa requesting a meeting. But the clever Abel guessed at a glance that this was definitely the commander's doing. First, it shouldn't be so easy for Alyssa to get out. Second, the security at the Crescent Ducal House had been tightened significantly. In summary, it was highly likely that the commander had sent the pigeon post, pretending to be Miss Alyssa. Alyssa must have been discovered by the commander. However, Abel was willing to take the risk to meet the commander. His subordinate disagreed. The commander, after all, was a person who had sworn allegiance to the emperor. But Abel felt this meeting was worth it. The commander had said in the letter that the time and place of the meeting could be decided by them. If he wanted to capture them all in one go, the commander would have tried his best to gain control over setting the location. Although this could also be a trap, in Abel's view, it was more like a request for a secret meeting. At this time, the commander came to the attic to see Alyssa. Alyssa asked sarcastically what the commander was doing here. She was locked up here and couldn't do anything. The commander said bluntly, "Sarah has told me everything." Alyssa angrily asked the commander what he had done to Sarah. Otherwise, Sarah would never have betrayed her. The commander reprimanded Alyssa for joining forces with those rebels. But Alyssa lost control and asked the commander why he didn't avenge their parents. The commander was shocked by Alyssa's words. All along, although he didn't manage Alyssa much, he had been silently protecting her, keeping her from this information. The matter of revenge should be borne by him alone. How did Alyssa know the truth about their parents' deaths? Alyssa continued to ask the commander why he swore allegiance to the enemy who killed their parents. The commander had his reasons, but couldn't say them. Finally, he said, "You don't need to know." But Alyssa cried out loudly that she had the right to know, because they were my parents too. The commander told Alyssa a powerless truth, but you can't do anything. The two looked at each other in silence for a moment. The commander turned and left with a sorry. Alyssa came to the hallway. The butler told the commander that a letter had been received. The commander guessed that the rebels' location must not be far from here. Otherwise, they wouldn't have replied so quickly. They must be hiding in some corner of the imperial capital. The commander opened the letter. The meeting place was a small hut belonging to a mountain keeper on a small mountain. It was obvious that this group of rebels had guessed that the person who replied was not Alyssa. It was impossible for Alyssa to go to such a distant place. This was very likely a trap, but the commander had no time to hesitate. For Ilan's sake, he had to be bold. At night, the commander brought his men to the mountain. A subordinate told him there was an ambush nearby. The commander told them to ignore it. He opened the wooden hut, and sure enough, Abel was sitting inside. Abel smiled slightly. Well, an unexpected guest has arrived. To save the female guard Ilan, the commander came alone to meet the rebel Abel. Abel politely offered him tea. The commander also politely asked Abel how he should address him. "Should I call you the leader of the rebels, or your highness the prince?" Abel laughed self-deprecatingly. He was once a prince, but his empire had long since fallen. "Calling me prince now has no meaning. You could just call me Abel." Abel smiled and asked the commander the reason for wanting to see him. He guessed it was to restore the power of the noble faction. After all, the commander's Crescent Ducal House was once the head of the noble faction. Now he could also see that the commander had many dissatisfactions with the emperor. Most importantly, if the commander were truly loyal to the emperor, he would have come to suppress the rebels, even if it meant using his own sister. The commander had to admit that Abel was a capable person. At least in analyzing the situation, he had him completely figured out. He asked Abel, since he knew the person coming was him and not Alyssa, why did he still come to see him in person? Abel smiled slightly, saying that the rebels needed the support of the noble faction. And in his opinion, the Duke of Crescent was the most suitable candidate. "You should already know that we are the ones who kidnapped the emperor's person." Hearing this, the commander's brow furrowed slightly. He tried hard to control his emotions and calmly said, "You're talking about Elon." Abel was somewhat surprised that the commander knew Elon. The commander said with some agitation, "She was once my subordinate. How could I not know her?" Abel let out a light laugh. He nodded and told him it was indeed Elon. He also told the commander that they planned to use Elon to lure out the emperor. But the commander felt things weren't that simple. The emperor wouldn't come out so easily. But Abel told the commander in a confident tone that the emperor would definitely come out. And even if he didn't, the rebels wouldn't lose anything. The commander clenched his fist, trying to ask Abel with a calm expression, "How is Elon now?" Abel told the truth. Although she was seriously injured, she is now recovering. The commander proposed to see Elon. Abel asked doubtfully, "Are you trying to persuade Elon to cooperate with us?" At this point, he sighed helplessly. "Elon won't agree. I thought she might be swayed by our old acquaintance." Hearing this, the commander instantly lost his composure. What old acquaintance? You knew each other before. Abel sneered inwardly. He was just testing him, and he didn't expect the commander to be so agitated. Abel said that he and Elon were in the same village before, and their relationship was quite friendly. Only then did the commander relax. Abel, seeing through his thoughts, agreed with a smile for the commander to see Elon. But there was one condition. He could only go alone. The commander thought for a moment and finally agreed. Since the rebels needed his help, they wouldn't harm him easily. The commander followed them to the rebel base. He was somewhat surprised that this place was very close to the imperial capital, yet very well hidden. Abel turned his head and asked the commander uncertainly, "Are you really going to see Elon like this? It will be very awkward for you to meet like this." Soon, the commander finally saw the sleeping Elon. Thinking of what Abel had just said, the commander pursed his lips. Of course, he knew it would be awkward. Once Elon knew he wasn't here to save her, but to persuade her, Elon would think he had joined forces with the rebels. She might even attack him. The commander came to Elon's bedside. He looked contentedly at her sleeping face. He hesitantly reached out his hand, wanting to touch Elon. The female guard, who had been kidnapped for a long time, finally saw the emperor in her dreams through magic. But the surroundings were foggy, making it hard for her to see clearly. She called out the emperor's name loudly in her dream. Just as she was about to catch up to the emperor's back, Elon shouted loudly, "Kale." She suddenly woke up from the dream. The person she was hugging was the commander. Elon immediately let go of him in embarrassment. She was a little confused as to why the commander was here. Could it be? Elon asked the commander happily, "Have I been rescued? Then where's His Majesty?" The commander's face instantly turned cold. "What are you looking for him for?" Seeing the commander like this, Elon felt uneasy. The commander, annoyed, asked her, "Why are you always looking for the emperor?" With a grim face, he moved closer to Elon. "Don't you trust me?" Elon realized something was wrong. "You haven't joined forces with the rebels, have you?" The commander paused for a moment and then simply nodded in acknowledgement. Elon asked in disbelief if he was joking. Seeing the commander remain silent for a long time, Elon knew it was all true. She slumped and held her forehead. "You've hidden it so well." The commander explained that he and Abel had only just joined forces. To Elon, it didn't matter if they joined forces sooner or later. She couldn't help but question the commander. "Why did you join forces with Abel?" The commander saw that Elon didn't look well and sternly told her to lie down and rest. After Elon lay down, he then asked her, being tied to the emperor's side, "Are you satisfied with this situation?" Elon immediately became vigilant. She suspected the commander was trying to persuade her to join the rebels. The commander told Elon that the emperor was a tyrant. She should know very well what the emperor had done to get to his position today. The emperor had killed countless people. Elon said His Majesty has changed now. He won't kill innocent people randomly anymore. But the commander sneered. How could he change so easily? Although he seems gentle for now, that's just a facade he created to deceive you. When he's done using you and you're no longer useful, he will eliminate you, just like my parents. Elon was shocked. She asked the commander, "Wasn't the matter with your parents an accident?" The commander, somewhat losing control, told Elon, "That was a murder the emperor disguised as an accident." He continued to try to persuade Elon to leave the emperor. Kale is a cruel person. The royal family is the same. Are you planning to leave your children in a place like that? Elon hesitated, about to refute, but was interrupted by the commander. He said that if Elon was afraid the rebels would be unfavorable to the children with royal blood, he would guarantee, in the name of his family, that the children would not be harmed. With things having come to this, Elon asked the commander to give her some time to think. After the commander left, Elon was in a dilemma. She had indeed wanted freedom and safety before, but thinking of those warm memories with the Emperor, Elon, from the bottom of her heart, didn't want him to die. In the end, the commander failed to persuade Elon to cooperate with the rebels. Abel, who was outside the door, had already guessed this outcome. He told the commander that if this continued, they would have to proceed with the plan, whether Elon agreed or not. The commander asked Abel to give him one more chance to persuade Elon. If Elon still refused to change her mind, then they would do as Abel said. Abel could only agree helplessly. Fine, but you'd better persuade this bait properly. The word bait stung the commander's ears. His face darkened as he warned Abel not to speak of Elon that way. After getting Abel's assurance, the commander turned to leave. He said he would come back in 2 days to persuade Elon. Abel secretly decided that he still needed to maintain his cooperation with Alyssa. She was easier to deal with than the commander, and using Elon as bait wouldn't provoke such a strong reaction from Alyssa. It's always good to have a backup plan. In the palace, the siblings looked at the pile of books they had to study with long faces. The handmaiden said that these were just the most basic courses. The formal courses would probably start later. The sister felt her vision go dark. The handmaiden quickly came forward and told her that after finishing these, it would be her favorite swordsmanship training. Only then did the sister's spirits lift. Reading books only made her drowsy. Sword practice was much better. At night, the emperor tucked the 2 little ones into bed. The handmaiden reported the children's learning progress during the day to the emperor. She was faintly worried. His Majesty was being a bit too hasty. He probably didn't want the prince and princess to be looked down upon by the nobles. Although the children seemed to be adapting well, she was worried that they might grow distant from His Majesty due to the intense study schedule. She hoped she was just overthinking it. After the handmaiden left, the emperor thoughtfully tucked the 2 children in, gently stroking their heads. He must protect the children and Elon. Thinking of Elon, the emperor stood up with a furious expression. He should have killed all those rebels and disobedient nobles back then. It was because he was afraid Elon would hate him for killing that he spared their lives. And because of that, Elon fell into danger. This time, he would not spare anyone. The emperor received a finger belonging to the female guard. After opening the box, the emperor's pupils instantly shrank. An infinite killing intent surged in his heart. The person who delivered the finger laughed heartily. How does it feel to receive your beloved's finger? Struggle and pain. Wail in grief for me. The emperor calmly put down the box and ordered the knights to take the man away, get all the clues out of him. And what happened here must not be leaked. The knight quickly took his leave. The moment the emperor saw the finger, he did waver for a second, but he quickly realized that this finger was not Elon's. Elon practiced with a sword all year round. Her fingers couldn't be so delicate. The rebels were warning him that they might really harm Elon next. The commander came to pay his respects to the emperor. I heard someone was causing trouble and came to check on the security. The emperor nodded and handed the box to the commander. Look, they said they brought Elon's finger. The commander instantly showed a terrified expression. Just then, the emperor explained that the finger was not Elon's. Only then did the commander breathe a sigh of relief. The emperor looked at the commander meaningfully. Although the commander was shocked to hear about Elon's finger, he still couldn't fully trust the commander. The emperor said that he would send the shadow guards to follow the commander and expand the search area together. The commander had a bad feeling. The emperor was trying to monitor him. It was all because Abel had made a fool of the emperor's men. Now the emperor was sending shadow knights to follow him. The commander suddenly guessed that being monitored might also be part of Abel's plan. At this moment, Abel was eagerly awaiting the emperor's reaction. A subordinate asked Abel if they should inform the commander, since he was their ally. But Abel didn't think so. He had already anticipated that the emperor would definitely show the finger to the commander. If they told the commander in advance, the emperor might notice something was wrong. Abel reassured his subordinate. Although the commander knew the rebels' base, even if the emperor dealt with them, the commander would also suffer. The most important thing now was the emperor's reaction. That monster must have felt sadness too. At this time, Elon woke up from a nightmare again. She dreamed again that something bad had happened to the emperor. Ever since the commander's visit, she had been having these kinds of dreams. She never thought she would actually shed tears out of fear of losing the Emperor. She couldn't even figure out what this feeling of hers was. A knock on the door suddenly sounded, and Abel walked in. He greeted Elon warmly. After Elon's hands were put in chains, Abel led her out of the room. This was the first time Elon had stepped out of the room since being captured by the rebels. Outside the room were women and children. These people looked like refugees. Abel whispered to Elon that once the Emperor killed all the rebels, it meant these people would also die. How do you like that any different from the Emperor of the past, killing everyone, including unarmed children and elderly who have no strength to even trust a chicken? But Elon didn't fall for his trick. Even if she betrayed the Emperor, this group of rebels, for the sake of revenge, would do the same to her children. But Abel promised Elon, "I will only kill the Emperor. I promise not to touch a single hair on your children's heads. Will you change your mind?" Elon did not trust the cunning Abel. She turned, intending to go back to her room. She had already confirmed the surrounding environment. There was no need to continue observing under the pretext of a walk. Most importantly, she didn't want to listen to Abel's proposals anymore. She was once a knight, sworn to die for her lord. She would not hesitate to sacrifice herself to protect him. This determination had not changed to this day. Abel also gave up on persuading Elon. It seemed now that he could only use her according to the original plan. The Emperor dreamed. Elon kept telling him that she had no finger. No matter how the Emperor comforted her that the finger was not hers, it was of no use. The Emperor's eyes snapped open, his face extremely pale. A shadow guard stood worriedly by the bed. To contact Elon, His Majesty had been personally running back and forth, using dream magic to find Miss Elon. His Majesty had even resorted to taking medicine to force himself to sleep. The Emperor asked the shadow guard about the search results. As usual, there was no progress. 2 other shadow guards hurried in, reporting that another box had been received. The Emperor's face was grim. He opened the box, almost holding his breath. Fortunately, the finger inside was not Elon's. Although he was relieved, what if next time it really was hers? The unease in the Emperor's heart was gradually amplified. The commander at the ducal house heard about the second box and was also worried about Elon. He had thought that Abel, considering their alliance, would not casually harm Elon. Now he couldn't trust Abel anymore. But now he had to find a way to meet them again to confirm Elon's safety. The prerequisite was to first shake off the Shadow Knights monitoring him. With the Shadow Knights around, he couldn't even easily release a carrier pigeon. The commander began to regret not rescuing Elon directly when he saw her last time. Just then, a servant suddenly brought the commander's change of clothes. The commander saw a note among the clothes. After reading it, he silently burned the note. It was too late to regret now. Even if Elon would hate him, he had to continue with his plan. It was for revenge, and also to make Elon his. The Emperor had been running around recently to rescue his beloved female guard, and he was exhausted. The nobles were all starting to get restless, but no one wanted to be the one to stick their neck out. Marquis Lewin planned to join forces with the commander and let him take the lead. When he received the commander's reply, the Marquis excitedly came to see the commander. After seeing the documents the commander gave him, the Marquis was dumbfounded. It was a complete list of all the shady things the Marquis had done over the years. If it were exposed, he might not even be able to keep his title. The commander's intention in doing this was that if something happened to him and the Marquis dared to cause trouble, he could use these scandals to control the Marquis. The Marquis obediently compromised. Hearing that the commander had actually allied with the rebels, the Marquis asked in shock why he would do that. Although the rebels and they had the same target, their goals were completely different. Those rebels hated the Empire and also the nobles here. It was very likely they would be backstabbed by the rebels. But the commander said he was just using the rebels. After getting rid of the Emperor, they could then get rid of the rebels. Although the Marquis felt that the commander was oversimplifying things, he didn't refute it. The two began to discuss how to get rid of the Emperor. First, they had to deal with all the shadow guards around the Emperor and the palace knights. The commander smiled confidently. He was the commander, after all. He still had the authority to move the palace knights. So you only need to do one thing. The commander's voice gradually lowered. After listening, the Marquis nodded in understanding. Only now did he feel that the commander was like a venomous snake. Elon, in the rebel camp, still had her hands bound by chains. Her injuries were almost healed. The rebels did this to prevent her from escaping. Thinking that the Emperor still hadn't found her, Elon was a little angry. When she ran away with the children, the Emperor could always find her. Elon didn't plan to wait for him to rescue her. Anyway, her injuries were almost healed. These rebels could change their minds and get rid of her at any time. Now Elan had to find a way to escape on her own. There were 2 guards at the door. It was unlikely she could deal with both at once. However, when they brought her food, only 1 guard would come in. Elan secretly resolved to seize this opportunity. At night, the guard delivering food walked in. He saw Elan lying motionless on the bed. The guard thought she was asleep and placed the food on the table. As he was leaving, Elan quietly got up from the bed. She instantly used the chains on her hands to choke the guard's neck. In a moment, the guard passed out. Elan silently took down the other guard at the door. Just as she was about to escape, someone suddenly appeared. Elan took out 2 guards and tried to escape the rebel camp, but was stopped by Abel. He seemed to have guessed Elan would do this and had been waiting here for a long time. But Elan didn't panic. Only Abel was here. She could definitely try to take him down. Elan strode towards Abel. The prepared Abel immediately drew a dagger. Elan wrapped her chains around the blade, trying to snatch the dagger. But Abel pulled hard, drawing Elan towards him, and taunted Elan, "It seems your skills have deteriorated." Elan suddenly let go of the chains. This reaction made Abel a little flustered. He guessed Elan might be about to attack with the chains. Unexpectedly, Elan kicked him in the leg. Abel's body instantly leaned forward. Elan then raised her hands high and struck the back of Abel's head. She successfully snatched the dagger and held Abel hostage. She retorted sarcastically, "You said my skills have deteriorated? You can't even stab me with your sword." Abel stubbornly said that if Elan was injured, he wouldn't be able to form an alliance with the commander. Elan told Abel to stop his glib talk. She pulled Abel up and made him walk in front of her. Abel said it was useless to take him as a hostage. But Elan sneered, "We'll see about that." The 2 came to where Abel's subordinate was. Seeing the situation, the subordinate immediately went to draw his sword. Elan pointed her sword at Abel, telling the subordinate he had better think carefully. As expected, the subordinate didn't dare to move rashly. He gritted his teeth and asked Elan what she wanted. But Abel spoke up to remind his subordinate, "If you have my best interests at heart, remember my order." The subordinate froze. Abel had once said to kill any obstacle that would hinder their progress, including himself. But Elan was confident that even with an order, the subordinate couldn't easily abandon his master. Just then, another subordinate suddenly pushed the door open. The first subordinate quickly told him to close the door. Abel suddenly let out a scream. The subordinate was distracted and looked at Abel. Elan immediately pushed Abel away. She ran desperately towards the main door. The man at the door was clearly no match for Elan. Elan took down the man in a few moves and ran out. She strode towards the exit. She was almost there, but a man was ambushing near the exit. The unprepared Elan was injured and knocked to the ground. The man viciously kicked Elan, who was trying to escape. Abel walked over unsteadily and stopped the man. Elan was still a hostage. After all, there was no benefit in destroying her. Abel borrowed the sword from the man. He pointed the sword at Elan that, "Don't worry. As I just said, you are an important hostage. I won't do anything excessive." The Emperor once again received a gift from the rebels. Inside was a lock of Elan's pink hair. The people who delivered the box were all thrown into the underground interrogation room by the shadow guards. They had originally intended to get some information through torture, but these people refused to say anything. They insisted that the Emperor come personally before they would talk. After arriving at the interrogation room, the imprisoned man first taunted the Emperor. "What a coward. Why did you bring so many people?" Hearing this, a shadow guard wanted to step forward to teach the man a lesson, but was stopped by the Emperor. The man chuckled. "Did you see the gift we brought? You seem to like it from your expression. You miss that woman a lot, don't you?" He told the Emperor to cross the Hei's Mountains. In a most remote place inside, there is a mountain keeper's villa. Elan would be waiting for him there. The man warned the Emperor that the rebels were not very patient. If the Emperor didn't go before noon 2 days later, the Emperor interrupted him, ordering the shadow guards to dispose of this person in the most painful way possible. The man shouted frantically, "You must go yourself. Otherwise, that woman will die. Despair will make you submit." On the way back, Shadow cautiously advised the Emperor not to go. It was a trap, and there was no need to pay it any mind. The Emperor knew full well it was a trap, but Elan's life was at stake. It didn't matter if it was a trap. The Emperor told Shadow to prepare his horse. Time was of the essence, and he had to leave immediately. Shadow tried to persuade him again. The Emperor displeased, told him to be quiet. Without Elon, there is no me. Shadow knelt on one knee, asking the emperor to let him accompany him. The emperor nodded in agreement. Then you will accompany me to the vicinity. They probably won't think I would actually go by myself. Shortly after, the emperor departed. A handmaid hiding nearby witnessed everything. She reported to the person behind her, "The emperor has departed." Besides the Shadow Knight order, only palace soldiers and a few nobles appointed by the emperor are with him. Hearing this, the commander's face revealed a calculating expression. The emperor was rushing to save Elon. This gave the commander an opportunity to act within the palace. But a knight suddenly arrived to inform him that the mission had changed. The emperor had ordered that from now on, the palace knights were to be responsible for protecting their highnesses, the prince and princess. During this period, Malika would take command of the palace knight order. The commander stared at Malika, displeased. He stated that he was the one who knew the palace knight order best. For the safety of the prince and princess, the person most familiar with the organization should be in charge. Malika countered with, "This is His Majesty's command," shutting the commander down. Though unwilling, the commander could only obey. On the way back, the knights behind him complained resentfully. His Majesty the Emperor had left the palace without their protection, choosing the Shadow Knights instead. Now, their knight order had to take commands from a Shadow Knight. It was infuriating. The commander suddenly had an idea. With the Emperor gone to save Elon, the palace security would surely be lax. Among the knights left to protect the children, some would be dissatisfied with how their order was being treated. He could use this to his advantage. Moreover, this was a good opportunity to get close to the children. They were Elon's children. He didn't plan to harm them, but he wouldn't let them go either. They were the best hostages to use as a threat against the Emperor. In a hastily moving carriage, Elon lay with flushed cheeks and a furrowed brow. Abel was somewhat worried. He wanted to press on, but Elon's fever was so high. His subordinate told him not to worry, as a doctor was accompanying them. Besides, once this was over, Elon would be of no use anyway. Abel, however, disagreed. Someone wanted Elon, and this person was very important. Therefore, Elon was still of great use to them. Elon gradually regained consciousness. She could feel that she was in a swaying carriage and guessed that the rebels had brought her along to lure the Emperor. These rebels would surely kill the Emperor. At this thought, Elon struggled to open her eyes. Abel considerately covered her with a blanket. "Elon, I'll give you some more medicine." Elon had no desire to see Abel. He treated people like objects, and now he was feigning kindness. A short while later, the carriage suddenly stopped. The commander boarded, asking with concern how Elon was feeling. Elon sat up in astonishment. The commander leaned closer, comforting her in a soft voice. "Just hold on a little longer. Everything will be all right soon." Elon rudely slapped the commander's hand away, demanding loudly, "If the Emperor dies, does that mean I'm yours?" The commander's eyes instantly turned cold. "Elon, I only want revenge, so please understand me." He stated that he couldn't be away for long and told Elon not to worry about the children, that he would protect them well. This made Elon even more uneasy. The commander clearly intended to use the children. Elon finally met the Emperor in her dreams. She called out in surprise, "Your Majesty." The Emperor wore an expression of disbelief. "Is it really you, Elon?" The magic finally worked. Elon gently touched the Emperor's face. "Yes, it's me, Elon." The Emperor was so happy he couldn't stop the tears from falling, murmuring over and over, "This is wonderful." This was the first time Elon had ever seen the Emperor cry, and for a moment, she was stunned. The Emperor gently touched Elon's hand. "Seeing that your fingers are all right, I'm relieved." Noticing Elon's confused expression, the Emperor explained with tears in his eyes that the rebels had sent him a severed finger, claiming it was hers. Speaking of this, a wave of fear washed over the Emperor. Although I suspected it was fake, what if it were real? What if he were suffering somewhere? The more I thought about it, the more anxious I became. I even wanted to take back a past I had never regretted. His hand gripped Elon's tightly, not wanting to be separated from her for even a moment. Hearing the Emperor's words, Elon's face flushed. He was so worried about her that he was even beginning to regret his past actions. The man who was once so cruel had changed so much. Elon suddenly remembered the most important thing and asked the Emperor, "How are the children?" The Emperor said the children were doing very well, doing their best to fulfill their duties. The twins enjoy their studies. The sister likes swordsmanship, and the brother enjoys history lessons. Elon looked shocked. "The children have started lessons?" already? The emperor explained that it couldn't be helped. To solidify their positions as heirs, something had to be done. Finally, the emperor looked at Elan, his face slightly flushed. "And the children miss you very much." "I miss you too, Elan." Elan felt a little shy as well, but she didn't avoid the emperor's loving gaze, admitting that she also missed the children in him. The two embraced once more. Upon learning that Elan was injured, the emperor immediately checked her wound. It was a deep wound, a testament to the great danger Elan had faced. The emperor's heart ached for her. Elan told him not to worry, as the wound was almost healed. The rebels had treated it for her. At the thought of those rebels, a coldness touched the emperor's face. He told Elan to endure just a little longer and that he would come to rescue her as soon as possible. Suddenly, there was a clanging sound. Elan realized that they were trying to wake her. She urged the emperor, "If the situation turns bad, you must abandon me." The emperor's face was filled with pain. How could he possibly abandon the woman he loved? To him, saving Elan was the top priority. Elan gently caressed the emperor's cheek. "The children's safety must be the top priority, and you must take care of yourself. Remember what I said, Kyle." One moment, Elan was meeting the emperor in her dream. The next, she was being woken by Abel. Seeing that Elan was all right, Abel breathed a sigh of relief. She had been sweating profusely in her sleep, which had frightened those around him. Abel handed the fever-reducing medicine to Elan. After she finished drinking it, he told her that they had now reached the Hayais Mountains. They planned to stop here for a while before moving on. Before leaving, Abel warned Elan that she had better behave. His patience was reaching its limit. Elan stood her ground, her expression grave. Inside the palace, the brother and sister couldn't sleep in the middle of the night. The sister had an ominous feeling. Their lessons had been suddenly canceled. The number of guards standing outside their hall had increased, and the emperor hadn't come to see them today. Her brother comforted her, saying not to worry, that His Majesty was often too busy to come. Suddenly, they heard the door open. It was Malika. Seeing that the siblings were awake, Malika assumed it was because of the noise outside. She comforted them, telling them to endure it for just a little longer and that things would soon be settled. After speaking, Malika knelt down. With a grave expression, she said that she had something to tell them. The siblings looked up curiously. A short while later, having finished explaining, Malika opened the door and left. The vice commander suddenly rushed over to find her. He asked Malika, "Is it true that the commander is planning to rebel?" "The commander is loyal to His Majesty." The vice commander simply couldn't believe it. Malika warned him not to be swayed by useless old loyalties. Who shows their fangs to the enemy? They only hide their killing intent. Malika went downstairs to find the commander had been waiting for some time. As expected, he wore a fierce expression and declared that he was there to destroy the royal family and kill the tyrant. Malika looked at the commander indifferently. His Majesty is merely correcting past wrongs. Since he ascended the throne, the empire has become more peaceful. The commander sneered. Peaceful? You mean plunge into panic? Malika knew that nothing she said would get through to him, so she asked the commander to state his purpose directly. The commander slowly drew his sword, his eyes filled with killing intent. "Get out of my way." Malika leaned forward. "Yes, this is much better." The commander intended to take the prince and princess. Of course, Malika would not allow it. The two of them, with swords drawn, clashed, and began to fight fiercely. The knights on both sides joined the battle. The knights defending the royal family accused the traitors of rebellion. The rebel knights retorted that this royal family should have fallen long ago. Malika was a difficult opponent. The commander didn't want to waste time fighting her. He had his rebel knights engage Malika while he immediately broke away and headed upstairs. Malika shouted for someone to stop him. In the second-floor corridor, the vice commander blocked the commander's path. He pleaded with the commander not to persist in his delusion, that it wasn't too late to turn back. The response was the commander's sword, mercilessly thrust into his chest. The vice commander collapsed to the floor. The commander's face was cold. "I'm sorry, but is a royal family like this worth protecting?" The knights stared in shock at the fallen vice commander. They couldn't understand how the commander could so easily kill a comrade who had once fought by his side. "Do you think what you're doing is right?" one asked. The commander retorted, "Is the royal family you're so desperate to protect in the right? You all know very well that it isn't, don't you?" The knights believed it was thanks to His Majesty that the empire was stable, that His Majesty had created peace. The commander sneered. "That peace is nothing but an illusion. The knights knew the commander was determined not to turn back and could only draw their swords to stop him. After a brief struggle, they were all struck down. The commander slowly stepped into the prince and princess's room, only to find it empty. He touched the mattress. It was cold. The commander's face darkened. He strode quickly to the wardrobe and threw the doors open. It was completely empty inside. The commander gritted his teeth in frustration. Could the Shadow Knights have already moved the two children? No wonder there were so few guards at the door. They were just a diversion to waste time. An ordinary knight wouldn't know where the two children were hidden. Should I capture that woman and interrogate her? The commander immediately dismissed the thought. It won't be that simple. As a Shadow Knight, Malika would die before she talks. The commander slowly walked out of the room, intending to deal with the woman and the other knights first. A mirror on the wall suddenly caught his attention. He glanced at the mirror in surprise, then looked away, muttering, "This is terrible." The emperor was racing toward Elon's location on horseback, but was ambushed by rebels along the way. A sky full of chains descended upon them. The emperor understood that the rebels were trying to delay him. Shadow volunteered to stay behind and deal with the rebels, telling the emperor to go on ahead. The emperor could only grit his teeth and press forward. He didn't understand where things had gone wrong. Was it because he hadn't eliminated the rebel forces and the aristocratic faction in time? Or was it because he feared Elon would be endangered because of him, so he couldn't be honest with her? The emperor thought to himself that all of this must be retribution for the mistakes of his past. He regretted it now, not just for failing to deal with the rebels in time, but also for the heartless words he had once said to Elon. He had told her he didn't need the children, that he would be fine without them. How foolish those words were. It had taken him far too long to come to his senses. He wanted to live together with his children and Elon. The emperor prayed fervently in his heart, "Please, don't let Elon die." He would save her, even if it cost him his own life. At that moment, Elon was locked in a small cabin in the woods. A short while later, one of Abel's subordinates came to hurry Elon out. Pale and weak, Elon stated that she was having difficulty moving. The subordinate roughly yanked on Elon's chains. "I'm not going to coddle you. Get up." He dragged Elon over to Abel. "Now, all we need is for the emperor to arrive." Elon replied, "His Majesty won't come. And I made a promise." Abel gave a derisive smile and told Elon to look into the distance. In the woods, the figure of a person on horseback could be seen, slowly approaching them. Elon's face went pale with shock. She could tell it was the emperor's horse, but there wasn't a single guard to be seen around His Majesty. Abel watched her with a smile. "To save you, he came."